Fever, cabin fever.
We'll call the Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Let the record show that it is 9:00 a.m. on February the 6th. Ms. Tracy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I'll try.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. You're fighting the cold this morning? Yeah, I get you.
Almost a week now.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm present.
You present?
That's what I said, I'm present.
Oh, you're present.
Any amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I do not see.
Okay, I don't believe I have any either. I've got a couple things, but I'll bring them up later.
Old business.
Audience introductions.
Tracy Ballard, Tribune.
Thank
You, the mighty, the
for being
brave.
here.
Roads are not.
Tracy's our only visitor today. Approval of the minutes for the January 31st meeting.
I'll move we approve them.
Did you all get a chance to look at those?
I did.
I'll second the motion. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the January 31st, 2018 board meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Minutes of the January 31st meeting have been approved. Thank you, Kelly, for keeping us moving forward with all of that.
You're welcome.
Commissioner items, Mr. Kanda?
Good. Since our last meeting, I've been working with the road and bridge guys on several things. Today I want to discuss, we don't have to move on anything necessarily, but that Hermit Road culvert has turned out to be a little too expensive to go the DOT and the GOLA route. 300 and some odd thousand, our portion of that would be 120, 30, 40 plus, can't afford it. Best route to go that we talked about was going for the GOLA grant. Do it ourselves, or contract it out. And the good news is we got time to do it. Even if we can't get things done this summer, we could do it next fall, of course. So I asked Brenda to bring in the DOLA grant. You got this, what this is right here, right? We want to get that moving as fast as we can in order to catch it for this cycle and move forward. So we can discuss that at the old business part of the meeting. And then I've been working with several requests on the road. I know we're going to have a discussion with Bear Basin guys. Is that today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And same old stories, worrying about the dust and what we can do about it. And we've got several options that Gary and I have been discussing. We'll work on those when he gets here.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anything else?
Hey, bye.
Hey, by the way, we have a new visitor.
Yes, we do. Welcome.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay, no problem. Mr. Prince, anything for the...
I have a couple of items there. Since the last meeting, I attended the Custer County Economic Development Workshop. That was Monday the 29th. I went to the Regional Housing Meeting with you on the 30th down in Canyon. It was an excellent meeting. Let's see. I attended the Person of the Year meeting that CART put on. It was an excellent handshaker. Went to the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting last night. You and I attended the Dennis Hunt meeting yesterday, which I felt was an excellent educational opportunity, especially for new commissioners. That's what I did, and then I have an issue I'd like to just comment on. It's my opinion in last week and yesterday you usurped your power as a county commissioner on 2 occasions. The first one was when you went to the planning and zoning and asked them to remove any reference to dark skies without board approval. That's a commissioner, or at least 2/3 of the commissioner's decision. The second one was yesterday. You told Vic Barnes, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee, that the commissioners will not speak and he should make that announcement ahead of time. That's according to Vic. I did not hear it, of course. I feel that you do not have the authority, in my opinion, to make decisions for the entire board. You certainly don't have the authority to speak for me, whether I'm going to speak at a meeting or not. I understand you're new. I understand we're figuring out what to do. And I'm just bringing that to your attention, so I hope it doesn't happen again.
Okay, can I answer that? That, I think you've got a lot of things out of context. What we have had since we've been appointed commissioners is a rough draft of the zoning and planning draft. And they've given it to all of us to consider and understand. And I'm used to taking a look at things and seeing what's there and what is right and wrong in my mind. I didn't speak for any commissioners. And I told, everybody I've talked to that has asked me questions, what we see that my view is that these are enforceable regulations and laws cannot be written if it's ambiguous. That's the only thing I've ever said, and that included dust, noise, smells, and we're going to exempt those kinds of things in the right to ranch. And so I was just looking at the thing and in passing, it was their option to do whatever they wanted. I didn't say the commissioners would do X or that it was my deal. So if they want to take it out of context, that's fine. I appreciate the heads up on issues like that. Until we see it, to me, it's their job to recommend the right things for us to make decisions on. And I wanted to make sure that that was my opinion, and I never spoke for the commissioners. And as far as Vic Barnes goes, what was the second part of that?
That you told him to make an announcement before last night's meeting that the commissioners are only there to observe.
When did I say that? All I've ever said is that those kind of meetings, planning and workshop meetings, are not there for us to make comments at, and as a matter of fact, in some cases, it's illegal because we, in fact, make decisions or imply decisions in those cases. So I told him if I was going to go, I would not say anything if I could make the meeting. And
that would be you, but I can't speak
well,
for Tom.
I said,
myself,
and that's in my impression. That's the thing that we as commissioners would be doing.
I did speak, and I feel that I have the authority to speak, and I don't feel that anybody has the right to say that I can't. On the first one, I fully comprehend what you're saying. I'm just hearing the second and third hand. If it came to me as more than a recommendation to take all references to dark skies and noise pollution and odors and other things out of that, I don't think that's appropriate for you to tell them what to put in their draft without us discussing it.
I didn't tell them to do that. I just said that was an impression I had, and I said if it came to us and we had to, and they didn't, where they were deadlocked or whatever it is, it would be my position.
Okay,
So
I fully accept that, and let's just be careful because impressions get out.
right.
And I felt that the way it was related to me was that it was beyond the scope of what any one of us individually could do. And I fully accept what you're saying,
Okay.
and let's just be more careful in the future.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Yes, and I would also say the same. We all have that. There's an email train out there that Clint started on dark skies that you chimed in on as well, and gave your opinion of whether that should be voted on or not, and who wouldn't vote for that. So we all have to be careful.
That is
So
speaking for myself, and you're
well,
welcome
that's
to
what
speak
that,
for yourself.
right, and that's what I was
You
doing.
spoke for the three of us. When
No, I didn't.
Okay, I accept what you're
Okay.
saying, but the way it was portrayed, you spoke for the three of us. Take it out of the regulation. Whether it was or was not does not matter at this point. I'm just asking us to be more careful with that kind of thing.
I agree.
Fair enough? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and I would interject too, Vic came to me yesterday and said that, I want you to know that Bill asked me to make a statement at the beginning of the meeting that Jay and Tom were only gonna be at the meeting to listen and not speak. And I thought the same thing as Jay did. I thought, well, wait a minute, that's not Bill or any other commissioner's responsibility to determine whether or not I will speak or whoever. So I asked Vic, I said, you're the chairman, I guess you can say whatever you want, but I'm requesting that you do not move forward with that statement on my behalf, at least. I can't speak for Jay. So,
And he may have taken it a little further than what I had implied. The point is that we're there to be listening and understanding.
well, not
what's going on.
necessarily, and that's not a true
And
statement.
I didn't say we couldn't say.
We may choose to sit there and listen, but we're not under any gag order either.
No,
So
no.
to say that we're just there to listen is not, if that's our personal choice as commissioners, that's fine, but to put that on us to say, well,
No,
you
I
guys,
agree.
we're only gonna go in there and listen, I don't think is correct. Whether it's me saying it, you or Jay, it doesn't matter who, this
No, I agree,
instance.
Tom, and that wasn't any intent when I was talking
Yeah.
today.
I accept that, and
Yeah.
all I'm asking is let's be more careful in the future, the three of us, to not make it appear as if one of us is speaking for three of us.
I
It
agree.
wasn't agreed in an open meeting.
And
Yeah.
I also want to make it very clear that, we want to have the boards that we charter to do things for us, to do them without fear that they're stepping out of bounds when it's something that we may think. And I want to be very careful not to give them, when they come to us with a recommendation, that's what it has to be. It's their view. And that's the only reason that I've been concerned from the get-go.
I do appreciate our ability to have these conversations. This would be unhealthy if we had these
Absolutely.
feelings and not be able to express them in a meeting. I mean, this is helpful. It may be uncomfortable at times, and certainly I'll have my time when I'm going to stub a toe, and I expect you gentlemen to.
Well, we're a
pursue
team, and we have to
be.
help each other, and that's what that's
So,
all my intent is. And
Good.
I appreciate yours as well.
And I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, very good. Anything else, sir?
That takes care of me for
Okay.
two.
Yeah, I attended. Go ahead.
I apologize, I missed
fine.
one, I
No,
just noticed it.
that's fine.
I met at length with the Wetmore folks at my normal monthly meeting. They made a request that I thought was reasonable, and I told them I'd bring it to the three of us to see if they felt that was okay. They have minor issues like changing light bulbs.
Start over again. What was that?
Wetmore Community Center, I went to my monthly meeting, and they made a request that I told them that I thought I'd bring to you and see if the commissioner felt it was appropriate. They have, first of all, most of the folks down there are, I don't want to say elderly, but none of them are spring chickens.
Right.
To say it, I'm trying to say it politely.
Let me help you not stub your toe here.
I try not to. But they had trouble with minor maintenance things like changing a light bulb. One of the moldings was coming loose and needed to be glued back. Just really minor things. I told them if it's plumbing, electrical, anything that takes expertise, call me, and if it's something I can authorize fixing, I will. If not, I'll bring it to you like I have with other things that I felt needed to be done. So the request that I would like to suggest for discussion is that we ask Mr. Reinhardt, our county maintenance gentleman, maybe to go down there once a month, or at least contact them periodically, or have them contact him periodically, so that he could go down and help with some of those minor issues that come up that are, I think, part of his job description. So he's been kind of excluded from down there. They kind of feel like they're a redheaded stepchild. If anybody's a redheaded stepchild, I don't mean anything. But you know what I'm saying. They would like to have the same kind of services the other county issues have. I told them I felt that was reasonable, but it wasn't a decision I could make. That I'd bring it to you folks.
Okay.
So that's what I would like to suggest, if we can arrange that. And how you'd like it done is up to you. I mean, I'm not the building maintenance person, but I would sure like to see them have those minor issues. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think, certainly that it doesn't make sense to hire somebody out of Florence, Canyon, Colorado Springs, or Pueblo to come rehang a blind or, you know, a lot of that little stuff. So, I can certainly speak to Ed and have a conversation with him about that, get his feeling on that. And, I would certainly be willing at times to go down and do some minor stuff as well.
I did while I was down there, but I thought on an ongoing
Yeah,
maintenance
needs
basis,
to
it'd be
be-
good for him to do.
Yeah, because there might be a time when we're not available and they need something, so, if it's all right with you gentlemen, I'll have that conversation with Ed and
It's fine.
see what he thinks about that.
Thank you.
Hey, and that reminds me, when we were talking, helping people, the Wetmore guys do want to have some asphalt put in front of the building. Later on, I'm working that with Gary.
Right.
We'll do that when the asphalt, the hot plant gets going and the ground gets warm, and we'll be able to squeeze it in, really cheaply as they're making their runs.
Right. That question had come up before, and I appreciate you bringing it up again. Gary had mentioned that when he's doing hot asphalting or having it done, there's often excess,
Mhm.
and he would put it down there, so
So we're
it was,
going
and Whitmore knows about it, they know that we're not gonna go out and hire a company to do it, but as the opportunity approaches, that we would use anything we had left over.
Yeah,
So I
I'll let
appreciate
everybody
you
know when we're
working
gonna do that, and they're gonna be happy.
Right, good.
Yeah, I'm
That is a
assuming
mess in front
that's
of
not a
them.
budgetary thing, so I don't guess it would be a decision we all three have to
No.
make
I don't
about.
think so.
Fits in the budget we got.
Anything else, gentlemen?
That's all I have.
Okay, I would just report to you that on February 1st, I did attend a Homeland Security Advisory Committee meeting down in Pueblo, at the sheriff's office and their emergency management offices combined. Had a good meeting. Went from 8:30 to 12:30, and Beth Archuleta from Emergency Services was there along with Cindy Howard. And so that advisory committee meets, I think, once a month, and so I went to try to get up to speed about the issues and stuff. The gentleman, if you guys remember, we went to a Homeland Security workshop at CCI, and I forgot his last name, Paul, the kind of the big, heavyset guy with the flat top haircut that ran that
I
meeting.
know.
And I keep wanting to say Parsons, and obviously that's not right, because Paul Parsons is trails from. I just can't remember. And so anyway, he chaired that meeting and had brought some, basically they were looking for input from there's 9 regions, and so they were looking from the South region about what's important for Homeland Security and what the state can do to make sure that they're lining up with the thoughts of those different regions. So it was a good meeting. And then, of course, on the 2nd, Bill and I traveled to Denver separately, I might add, but we did go up and meet with Chip Taylor, the executive director for Colorado Counties Incorporated, and had a good meeting with him, and he went through basically his county commissioner 101 slide presentation. And so we talked with him at length about what it is to be an effective county commissioner. And then on Saturday the 3rd, Tony Supan and Jake Shy and myself continued our work on the door going from the courtroom into the judge's chambers. We did get that foundation cut out of there. We rented a jackhammer and a demo saw from Valley Ace, and so we finally did get that all cut out of there. So we're ready to start framing that in and getting ready for that door. The door was supposed to be in today, so progress is moving forward there.
The one that accidentally got wrecked.
Yeah, and I went and looked at that door, and it's wrecked. It not only did it tear the 6-inch jamb up, but it actually must have lit just right on the end, so it cracked it all the way across. It's a solid core door, and it's cracked all the way from the door bore set over. So there was no way we were going to be able to use it. But Jeremy had already ordered us another one anyway, so And then, of course, we met with Dennis Hunt here yesterday, as you alluded to, and then the planning and zoning meeting yesterday afternoon. And then I went up and sat in on the Silver Cliff Town board meeting. And one of the things they discussed was a road that ends at Silver Cliff city limits going up to the towers, Bunker Hill Road, and the lady was there and indicated that she would be coming to the county to discuss that road from her property on up. So I don't know anything other than that. I have visited with her about another item or two, but I would assume that at some point she will ask to be on the agenda at a county meeting. Was forwarded a letter from her attorney to the town of Silver Cliff. Did you get that, Jay?
I did not.
Okay, can you shoot that too?
I sent it to Alter.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
It was probably
it was
this
from,
morning.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday, okay.
And
So,
it was
if you have a
originally from
chance,
Eileen
you can-
Squire.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, let me pull that up for you real quick, Jay. Just
Printed it out.
Oh, yes, I did read it, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Robinson,
I
Hungate.
did
Yeah.
read it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good. So anyway, just a little backstory there. I'm sure we'll.
So they just send that?
We got it yesterday, correct? Yeah. And they spoke about that at the Silver Cliff Town meeting last night. So again, I'm sure that'll hit our agenda at some point in time. So just a heads up there. And then I wanted to read a note. I know you gentlemen each got one, as did I, but Kathy Griffin also sent a note to the commissioners, so I thought it would be appropriate to read that. Dated February 1, 2018, Dear Commissioners, thank you for your financial support for the Trails for All Community Workshop Tuesday evening. As Commissioner Flower could see, your assistance helped provide good food, clearly not enough, a barely large enough roof over our heads, and the ability to support another nonprofit, and well-produced maps to get meaningful information from the more than 100 people and guests who attended. You, the commissioners, made a difference. Thank you, Kathy Griffin.
Very nice.
And I did obviously attend that meeting, which I think I reported at our last meeting about that. So, and then I had a conversation with Gary Hyde, welcome sir, the other day concerning this DOLA grant. We talked about that a little bit, and then a subsequent phone call, which I will wait to address. I just want the commissioners to know that I did talk to a gentleman who's been hauling material into the county, and so when we get into the road and bridge part of that, I think I'll pursue that discussion a little further. Thank you for trying to reach out to me yesterday. I was just in meetings, and I wanted to call you and have this conversation prior to this morning's meeting, Gary, but didn't happen. So nothing earth-shattering, but I don't want you to think I was trying to circumvent our agreement that I would call you back when I got some information, and
Oh, that's all right.
just got
I know how that goes.
swamped. So, and then another item that I want to bring up, it's really for Gary and Snow Road and Bridge as well, and that is our snow removal here. I think our loader operator got kind of a late start, and our parking lot was pretty well full by the time he got here. So Ed Reinhardt, the maintenance guy, asked if there was a chance that we could get here earlier to plow that snow before the vehicles started showing up for the workday.
Yeah. We normally do, but this one caught us by surprise. It was forecasted to get an inch or less, so we just
Exactly
did
what I
that.
told him. I said, I think everybody got caught by surprise because it was not predicted to 4 or 5
Well, even
days.
CDOT, I see them out first thing this morning instead of being out through the night.
Yeah.
They didn't think we were going to get this much,
Yeah.
so normally we would be up here. So it's one of those unusual situations.
Yeah, and I told Ed, I said, I think that was exactly the case, that they weren't planning on having that much snow to have to deal with. But he asked me to carry it forward to you, so I
Sure.
told him I would. And then the other thing is, and I spoke to, what was the loader driver this morning? Do you know who came up here?
There was two of them. One was Darren, and the other one was Dennis Mallory.
Okay, it must have been Darren, although I'm not sure. Anyway, I just spoke to him as I was coming to work and informed him that we did have another small pile of concrete rubble that we put out by the light pole because we finished the demo work on that door in the courthouse. They had come up a couple weeks ago and gathered up some concrete and stuff.
Okay.
And I was going to call you about that also yesterday, and that didn't happen because we were in meetings. But I do have a little pile of rubble out there. I mentioned it to him, and he said he'd talk to you about it.
Okay, sounds good.
And yes, sir.
I read, you know, that the slag, is it called slag, whatever went under the bridge, we made those piles when we had our flooding. It was such an eyesore, and I noticed that you guys are removing it. I just wanted to tell you, I've heard from several people saying thanks for doing that, and I also thank you for doing that.
You're talking about
Kudos.
the slash
Yeah.
tiles in
Yeah,
Wetmore?
yeah,
Absolutely,
Wetmore.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I saw the other day they started burning it, and I thought, man, good luck. But we all knew there was so much dirt and stuff mixed in with that. But yeah, I saw that they were also hauling that stuff out of there. Where are they going with that?
Larry told me that I can't remember off the top of my head. They had kind of a washout that's close by where they put it, and
do you know, sir, do you know who owns that property?
where it was sitting.
Yeah, where the slash piles were sitting.
Yeah,
Isn't
Bill
that Bill
Donnelly.
Donnelly's?
Bill
Oh, was it
Donnelly.
Bill?
Donnelly's place.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. All right, good. Anything else, gentlemen, on commissioner items?
Tom?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Commissioner, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Just, you were talking about snow removal, so I saw Ed out there and he was with the shovel, and I remind him, I don't know if he really thought about it, that we've got that 6-wheeler UTV over there with the plow on it, and I told him the keys are in it, just use it as much as he wants. We only ask that if, he uses all the fuel in it to replace it, but
Good.
I can't imagine he would use it that much anyways.
Yeah, and I saw him coming back from what appeared to be over at the sheriff's office, so I'm assuming he took his snow blower over there this morning. Did you happen to notice? Or?
Maybe so.
Yeah,
It looked
like he was coming.
it looked like it had been shoveled.
Yeah.
Either or, that
Yeah,
UTV is pretty
Okay.
handy.
perfect.
Because you can't always get in, even when these guys come, they
Right.
can't get up
Well,
close
yeah,
with
and
a lot of
I
that
think
stuff.
he's been coming in at 6 or 6:30, so that might be the thing too. Is we might just say, hey, maybe it's worthwhile to jump in that UTV and blast this snow out away from the building far enough that at least people can come in and park if they get here early. But yeah, definitely a work in progress with that whole thing. Trying to sort out
Yep.
how early he needs to be here, what needs to be done first, the priorities, and that kind of thing. But thank you for offering that. Appreciate it, Sheriff. Anything else, gentlemen, under Commissioner items?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move ahead. Attorney items, Counselor?
I have nothing to report except that letter we were talking about a minute ago to the town of Silver Cliff. I saw that, and I think eventually the county is going to be involved in that, so I'll start working on it and familiarize myself with that 1986 resolution they're
Right.
talking about, and
Yeah.
sort of get a handle on this.
Okay. Yeah, Bunker Hill Road
Did you get a
from
copy of
Silver
that?
Cliff going up, Gary?
Yeah, I got a copy of that letter. I read through it this morning. I had a chance to absorb it a little bit.
Okay, good. So at least when we talk about that, you'll know kind of what the little of the backstory there is. And, certainly, I'm not an attorney, so I got lost in some of the legal ease of wit, whatever, and I wonder what that really means, but we decided not to go there. But anyway, okay, thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, that's good.
Good. Administrative assistant items?
I just have one thing. You guys probably saw this. Cindy Howard sent out that email about the EOC workshop, and I wanted to ask you if it was okay if I went to that on the 21st. I know in the past I've been involved in that. When we had the fire, they asked me to go over there. So sort of want to keep up on that kind of
I
thing.
certainly do not have a problem with that. I'm planning on attending it myself, so.
I am too, and I
Gentlemen,
appreciate it
your
if you go.
feelings?
My feeling is I appreciate the initiative to go and be involved.
Okay.
Yeah, because
And
there'll be a day that we'll ask Miss Brenda to wear a different hat when it comes down to emergency services somewhere along the line. I'm almost certain of that, so.
And that's all I had.
Okay, and I think I had jotted down that was from 8 to 4?
10 to 4.
Yeah.
On the 21st.
Okay.
And they're not
Yeah.
sure if it's gonna be in the STAR building
Yeah,
or
they were
the
thinking
fire.
about trying to move it down to the firehouse, so.
But hang on a second, that was the
21st,
21st?
yes.
Oh, I thought I had it on my calendar just now.
Which reminds me, another item I had was, I won't be here. We're gonna be gone for a couple of weeks, so I'll be gone from the 9th through the 22nd.
Okay.
Although I will be reachable by phone, and I can vote over the phone.
There you go.
We proved that already.
Yep.
Okay, and we shouldn't have any,
There's nothing in between, we move one meeting.
shouldn't have any need for a vote, but certainly if something
There's some item or something
arises.
that needs to come up.
We don't have a meeting until the 23rd.
Right.
That's
While
why
we're
we
talking, I'm gonna be out of town on the 8th through the 18th. And I'll be attending the tourism meeting by phone. I've already made those arrangements.
8th through the 18th.
And I'll be available by phone, email, smoke signals, whatever you need.
And the tourism board is scheduled
The tourism
for-
board is on the 13th at 9 o'clock in this office.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, Ms. Brenda?
That's it.
Thank you. We'll move into staff reports. We'll start with the Road and Bridge. Mr. Hyde. Welcome this morning. Thanks for coming
Been
in.
up bright and early, boy, you've got cold
I
hands again.
know, I don't know what
Shoveling
that
snow.
feels.
You can tell working men from commissioners, right?
Yes.
Working men's hands are still cold. And
I'm working, I have to work on that circulation, so. Well, one of the things I had on here to talk about is the sale of surplus equipment. We've got a truck that, it's got some age to it.
okay.
It's, in fact, I've got some specifics on it, and it's one that I'd like to get rid of. It needs a lot of work, and we've been using it to pull a belly down trailer, and, we had to take it out of service because of a clutch problem, and I was talking to Byron about it, and he gave me the lowdown on what all is wrong with this truck. And based on the age and the miles and things like that, I don't feel like it's probably in the best interest of the Road and Bridge Department and the county to put any money in it.
Okay.
In fact, one of the things we talked about last year, and one of the things we budgeted for was a truck and trailer. So this is the one that I was gonna replace with the new truck and trailer in 18, so.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Obviously, with 826,000 miles and this long list of, I mean, the truck is in not very good condition, but does it make more sense to sell it, or is like maybe rusty? I mean, is somewhere else that could still use it, or is it better to just get rid of it?
I don't think Rusty's got a need for it. It's that old blue Pete, the 88, I mean, no, landfill.
Okay.
And anybody
question.
else,
Just wanted to allocate it if it had it was worth, it doesn't look like it'd be worthwhile anyway, considering what's wrong with it.
well, I think it would be something that would be a liability
Okay.
because of the things that are wrong with it.
And
So
you think-
the engine has been overhauled in it once.
It has had a.
So it's got only 100,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, it'll be worth some money to.
Yeah, you know, it's been my experience in the past, when you take a truck like this and surplus it or try and trade it into a dealer, they're gonna give you about 5%.
Yeah, they won't do it.
At about $6,000 is about the max you're gonna be able to get for it.
Looks to me like we got a lot of use out of this truck. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's done its job, and it's time to let somebody else.
Somebody else's headache.
Maybe Jay needs it for something.
Put it this way, thanks anyway.
Are you anticipating trading this in on another one, or are you gonna try to sell it?
We could look at that. I don't know if any of the vendors that we get the bids on for a truck would be interested in this or not. I guess that's one thing that we could explore, but if we don't do that, then we would, I think the way that works is we'd have to, I don't know about Custer County, but what we've done in the past where it came from was we put it up for sealed bids, we advertised it in the paper for about 3 weeks, we offered it to the public for purchase, and if nobody could come up with at least what we're wanting for it, then we could do whatever we wanted with it from that point.
What do you think they advertising for? How much?
Well, I think we need to get at least 5,000 or 6,000 out of it.
Yeah, I bet you can get it.
Yeah, I would think so.
Not going
You'd rather do that than trade it in on a new truck or
Well,
a newer truck?
You need a new truck.
We had budgeted for another tractor and a belly dump.
yeah,
or,
So-
and that's by leasing it, right?
yeah, lease purchase.
So it'd be hard to get anything out of the trade on it. Doesn't hurt to try to advertise.
I'm not sure if that, and if we did trade it in, I think that they're gonna probably offer about what we'll get if we have sealed bids for it. I guess what we could do is offer it for sealed bids, and then in the meantime, I could get a hold of one of our dealers and say, come look at it and see what you think. So we could go both routes.
I like that idea, but what I'd really like to do before we authorize that is to check with the lobby and make sure that there's not already a procedure in place to discard and how to eliminate old equipment, because I'd rather follow the procedure we have. So maybe a conversation with her would be in order to say, do we have a policy on that? And if not, I would certainly feel that it's appropriate to go ahead and put it out for sealed bids.
And, once again, I can contact some of the vendors and say, this is what we've got, and they'll probably say, or not but I mean, it's worth checking.
Sure.
Well, I would certainly defer to you on that. I can't argue with Jay's point about checking the procedures that we have. I guess there's really probably two thoughts. One, there may be people in the communities that think they deserve an opportunity to submit a sealed bid to buy something that the county owns. I don't know that. The other thing is, it may be more headache to go through that process than to just trade it in on a lease purchase thing. So
Yeah, I think that I'm kind of leaning towards giving the area residents a chance to purchase this if they can use it.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm aware of in the government surplus world is the same, and I would assume the same here, county government's government. That the only big issue is you can't let one guy decide he wants to buy it. It's you let everybody have the option, which means you advertise it and say, here's what's available, take a bid on it.
Yeah. And is it, do you know, Clint, is it 3 weeks that we need to advertise?
Well, I think it's at least a couple of weeks. Rusty, we've done this before, haven't we? Through old equipment, put it up for bid,
We've had an auction before.
an auction. Okay, but that was when there was a lot of other, it wasn't just for one item.
Never fails.
well, would you mind talking with Donna? I think that's a good point to see if she has some perspective on it, and if not, I would think if you feel like we need to put it out and seal bids, then we write something up.
So we could either do it that way or by auction, as long as we advertise it properly.
Auction just cost us a little bit though to do that.
Yeah,
I think just putting it out.
Yeah, if we had more
Just
than one
one
item,
item.
maybe an auction might be the route to go, but
Maybe the thing to do, just a suggestion, maybe we put out a sealed bid, if we don't reach a minimum or whatever you feel is appropriate, then put it up for auction, and we know it's going, if we don't put a reserve on it, whatever it is, and it looks like it's pretty well used up anyway.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I can get a hold of these vendors and see what they might offer for it.
And we may find it's worth a whole lot less than we're guessing, or maybe more, we'll find out.
Sure.
And I'm assuming if you do put it out for sealed bids, you would just put your hours that it's available to have people come look at it Monday through Thursday and.
You know, the big plus on here is still that engine, and that's what it's worth. There are guys up here that would buy that truck for parts, and
I agree with that.
that engine especially, not a lot of miles on it.
Okay, good.
Sounds good.
And then, purchase of, 2 AEDs. I've been looking into, buying a couple of those, mainly because we're not a bunch of young guys that are working.
AEDs.
Oh, AEDs, yes.
Yeah, we're not a bunch of.
Just before you actually buy it, I got them, I got 2 of them down in Whitmore through a grant from,
RETAC.
no, I got, it may have, that's where they probably came from. I went through the health, Alyssa Magnuson. I spoke to her about it, she was able to get those, and it may have been RETAC. So before you buy those, would you mind just giving her a call and say, hey, I need 2, is that something you could help with like you did down at Whitmore? Just a suggestion.
That's how we
Okay.
got the ones here too, is
Well-
through the
RETAC.
county health.
That's what I did, I already
Her,
contacted her.
thank you, I'm sorry. I
She
didn't
told me,
think
no,
of-
that's okay, she told me about the grant, application and things like that. So that's what I'd like to do, is pursue a grant.
Absolutely.
And the ones that Alyssa got were $1,800 for 2 of them. I'd like to have one for the east shop and one for the west shop. But that's what I thought I'd do.
Again, what's the process for the grant? What is it? Whose grant?
Oh, I don't know, I'd have to check on that.
It would be the same grants like at last meeting you guys approved when Beth Archuleta was here. Those are the same grants with RETAC.
Yeah, it would be pretty simple then if we've done it before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that there's a good possibility we get a grant to get these things bought.
You got the money.
Well, that's
on
what
top of that. So.
Exactly, if the grant doesn't work out for us, I just wanted you to know that when that voucher came through and you saw a bill for it, that's what these are for. I think that it's probably important that we have one of those. in the
Conceptually, I
shops.
absolutely agree with you. I think that's a worthwhile endeavor to have those down there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they just collect dust that are never used.
I
Like
agree.
life insurance, you know,
Sure,
you hope you don't use it.
but they're there in case.
Good.
I was gonna show you a picture also, when we talked about that permanent bridge project. I can, unless the person, this is what we're looking at, it's on the left page, that's pretty similar to the box
Oh,
culvert.
square box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an aluminum box culvert with windmills.
Right now we got 3 culverts that are ganged together in there.
If you, very pretty, but I'm looking at. Help me get my mind wrapped around this. A while back, we had a station came in to talk about, is this the same culvert we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we were gonna get a grant to do it. And then I'm hearing this morning that we probably could do it less expensively ourselves. Is that what I'm hearing? Get me up to speed on this, please.
Yeah, what the deal is if we go with that CDOT grant, because of their requirements to get your hands on those federal funds, there are a lot more hoops that you gotta jump through.
Right.
And it takes the project from 2 weeks to a minimum of 5 weeks.
Wow.
And I met with Jimmy Hasten, he's the liaison with CDOT, kind of the middleman between whoever the grantee is and CDOT. And he assured me that this project at a minimum would be $300,000. And because of the grant that we've got through DOLA, the $140,000 there, and then the CDOT grant, the county's portion is going to be probably more than if we just go out on our own and use the CDOT grant, or not the CDOT, but the DOLA grant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they're just, they're telling me that it could be upwards of $350,000. So
That was the thing I mentioned in the last meeting, Jay, about this. And the other issues were the bureaucratic hoops you gotta go through. The right-of-way is not wide enough. We gotta get what do you call it, deferment or whatever.
there's a right-of-way acquisition firm that's separate from any of the other agencies, like the engineering firm, Tinsel Engineering, they're the ones that acquire go through the paperwork and the process to get the temporary
And
right.
then when you go through that and you try to get all those agencies to coordinate together, it stretches the time out. And we can't have that road shut down for 6 weeks.
It's a very important, it's only,
So,
I like the idea you'd save money. Do you need to get expertise in it? I mean, I don't mean to ask a stupid question, but do you need to hire someone to come in who knows how to do this, or is this something that your crew could do with?
when you said by ourselves, that means hire a subcontractor.
Okay,
To,
that's what I was referring
optimize,
to.
because if you take our guys off the road graders, that stops
That was
the
what I
roads
was-
and we can't help Amy.
That's exactly what I was
So,
concerned.
that's the point. And,
We would-
and also, the fact is, if we do it ourselves, if the grants would have gone through, we would have been able to, our matching piece of that would have been about $40,000 we'd have to spend. Nice. But with the fact that we have to go with just the DOLA grant, because of the time savings, it's worth we're gonna end up spending about 70K, I guess, is roughly what it'll be if you match what's there. So it's a little more expensive for us to handle, but it saves time, and you're not betting on the come of whether everything's gonna go through to approve it.
Yeah, and actually, I think that it would probably cost as much or more if we use those two grants versus just the DOLA grant by itself.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a point that needs to be made here, is we don't have to do it ourselves. We're still in the mix for doing these grants. It's whether or not we feel like it's financially feasible,
Right.
plus if we
So that
go
was,
there with those time.
The recommendation I wanted him to bring forward is, that we'll have to consider,
Right.
is spending the 40K that we already have in the budget to do it, or the 70K, I should say now. And still, you would need that DOLA grant. If we did it by ourselves, you're looking at $100,000 or whatever it is out of our own budget, not the mix.
If we do it ourselves, is there any issue with environmental, anything like that that needs to be,
Yeah, we're still gonna get permits, but
okay?
we've actually had the Army Corps of Engineer, an individual with them up here, and they looked at it and told us, recommended the structure that goes back in and things like that.
Okay.
He said the permit's not gonna be difficult to obtain and things like that, so.
So the estimate is, out of pocket to the county would be about 70,000 if we did it ourselves, if we receive the DOLA grant? We already have the DOLA
Yes.
grant.
And with that DOLA grant is like I call it a 50-50 matching grant.
Right.
It's 54 and 46, I think, is what Bernie was telling
We
me.
budgeted
And
that.
it's actually the
It's actually the
opposite.
other way
We
around.
pay 54 and they pay 46.
Okay.
So.
Grantee, according to that DOLA grant, the grantee is 54.
Right.
Okay, and when would you think about doing this?
Not until probably October of this year, when the water level's down again,
And after hay season?
after the hay season.
That's a
We-
fact.
We wanna
I'm
pick the
worried
time
about
when the
that. That's
water's
the
at
main
its
road.
lowest and
Absolutely.
the least amount of traffic.
And you'd wanna be aware that the alternative routes, there's two of them. One's going out towards the Pines and the other one's down here on School Street. And it's an extra couple miles for people commuting. They're gonna bellyache a little bit, but they'll bellyache worse if the road keeps caving in on the bridge.
If hay did, they would have a lot more belly aching, so.
Well, yeah, cause we wouldn't be prepared to replace it.
Right.
Right.
We'd be
I
behind.
get it, it'd be months before you get it all done.
So, then we got plenty of time to warn the public and everybody will be ready.
Yeah, I appreciate you, both of you working on this, this makes good sense, and it's budgeted, and it has to be done. We've been talking about it for probably close to a year now. Time to get a shovel in the ground and get this thing fixed before it falls in.
Also, what we will do is, that road is very soft and it heaves from the bridge toward Macy. And, that, with it out of service, there's an opportunity to not just skim coat it with some chip seal, which you can't. Gary will tell you, it's gone past that. We'll have to dig up things and actually, put some road base in it and redo it. It's opportunity as we get through it.
Perfect time.
Yeah, when I reviewed that DOLA grant, I believe that it talked about, obviously there's some timelines about, once we submit the grant, we have to put that out to bid within, I think it's 30 days.
Right.
And once we get those back, we have to let the bid out within 30 days. And then I think from the windows from October 18 to June of 19, and then the final report has to be submitted in September of 2019. So
Yeah, that's what it is.
I would assume that you will build a timeline if we move forward on that and to hit all those appropriate dates. So I would guess, obviously, DOLA is waiting for a signed copy of this grant
When's
back.
the latest we can get it back to them, be okay in this cycle? You know?
Did you
I
see a
did not
date
see
in
it.
I
there?
didn't see any.
I could ask Christy, but,
I think the sooner we get it in, the better we are.
yeah, just as soon as they sign it and get it back to us, then we have,
Then
our
we're on the
timeline
clock.
starts. So.
That's
That's
my
right.
point. Once we submit it and we get it back, then we gotta be ready to move. So I guess my question to you, Gary, would be, you know, when do you feel comfortable about getting on the clock and starting moving forward?
I'd like to read through that again
Yeah.
before I answer it.
That's, yeah, because,
Yeah, I've got a
You got a copy in it?
Yeah, Randy sent me one, but I'd like to read through that and really familiarize myself with it a little bit.
yeah, and that was my question to Brenda. I said, I think we need to be careful about just signing it and shipping it, because that does put us on notice. We're on the clock.
We gotta have everything ready.
Yeah,
Exactly, that's why I like to talk to Christie and then read through that again. I just briefly read through it.
I guess now, since we're in the middle of this discussion, probably as appropriate time as any for me to relay to you the phone conversation I had on a couple fronts with Mike Langston. We had talked about that on the phone a little bit, and I told you I would reach out to him. I did. He is hauling from his pit in Fremont County to his property in the county. We had talked about maybe he's hauling to a property out of the county and they're just going through the county. That is not the case. They are hauling that fill material to his house.
Right there on the counter. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I said, well, are you about done? And he said, no, not really. He said, we still have a lot of material to haul in there. He said, if you're having issues with your citizens, I could certainly scale that back. I can hold off for a little while. He said, here's the deal, Tom. I'm using those trucks because they're downtime on my schedule. That's why we're doing it. He said, I don't have another job for those trucks to be running on, so that's why we're hauling that fill material. They're actually filling in a big low spot in part of his field or pasture below his house. So he said, we still have quite a bit. I didn't ask him how many more loads they thought, but that's what they're doing, is they're hauling to his place.
Yeah, you know,
Terminating in the county.
typically this time of year, that would be good timing on his part because of the snow we really had gotten and the roads being frozen. And since we haven't gotten any substantial moisture, the roads are dry and they're holding up very good. But, I mean, it is what it is. He's got the right.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the right to do it, and I know Mike, I've known him for years, and he said, Tom, if it's an issue, I can scale back. He said, I hate to quit, because I'm trying to keep these trucks busy, they're costing me,
Yeah,
and I don't want to let those guys go.
Sure.
I don't want to have to furlough them out or whatever, so I just wanted to throw that in the mix. And then I also spoke to him about this Hermit Road Bridge project, and just said, we've got a project coming up. I know Gary's gonna, as we move forward, we'll put that out for bids for companies that are interested in subcontracting that. He indicated that he would definitely appreciate an opportunity to bid on that.
Sure.
He said, that's great. And then he called me back about 4 or 5 minutes later, and he said, did you mention an aluminum box culvert as your plan? And I said, yes, I did mention that. I said, I don't think anything's been signed in concrete, but that's the direction I think that our road supervisor's going. And he said, well, I would like to talk to him about that, and I did not give him your number. I wanted to ask you if that's okay. His company has installed a couple of those, and he said the last one they installed, they just had fits. He said, Tom, I'm telling you, I cannot recommend going with an aluminum box culvert, no way. And I said, well, I don't know. That's something that you could have a conversation with Gary about. Yeah, the last one they put in failed from weight. It just went down on him. He said, unless you can get 5 or 6 feet of cover over one, he said, I am really concerned about these aluminum box culverts. I said, I don't know, I'm not the expert here, but I'll pass your concern on to Gary, and if Gary's amenable to it, then I can give him his phone number and you can have a conversation, which I don't think it would hurt. I don't know if it was up around Steamboat or just exactly where they put that in, but he
How'd you
said
get the square
it had
one in
all-
the first place?
all terrain.
It was Skyline Steel that recommended it.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna, by any means commit to anything like that until I have more research also,
Yeah, part of our conversation too was, and I asked him about a concrete culvert, and he said, well, obviously if you pour in place, then you've got the whole queue of line to deal with. He said it'd be ideal if you didn't have any traffic, but he said certainly we have installed, this is Mike Langston talking about his company, had installed numerous box culverts precast. But again, that's, I was just having a conversation.
And that's something that they could, we have checked on this precast concrete box culverts, and just to bring them in and set them in place that are already poured.
Right.
But the
Make them big enough.
expense goes up.
Pretty expensive.
And
Yeah,
there's
so-
always a possibility of going back with what we got
Sure.
now. But I'd like to go with something a little bit larger.
Yeah.
I'll do some more research
Yeah.
and I'll get back.
Yeah, and if I'll give you his phone number if you want to have a discussion with him about that. I think it'd be prudent to, at least hear him out.
Sure.
And go from there. I mean, I think pouring in place would be ideal if we didn't have the traffic.
Yeah.
But, we'd probably be looking at 2 weeks just to let the concrete cure, let alone do the work. So.
Yeah, bridges that we have poured in the past that for probably 6 weeks, so I don't know if that'd be a.
Okay. But anyway, I told him I would carry that forward.
Yeah, I'd like to visit with him,
Okay.
get his thoughts,
Yeah.
so I'll give him a call.
Okay, good. So let's hold off on the grant signing
Sure.
for a while until you think
Get
it's,
ready.
the timeline's set.
You want me to double check with Christie to make sure that we're okay?
Please.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I don't want to lose.
Yeah, you don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we've gotta hit another window.
And when you call her, Brenda, I might come up and we can both talk to her at the same time. I've got a couple of questions for her, so.
You want to do that like later today?
Yeah, we sure could.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. Okay, what else, sir?
Oh, I'm just gonna give you this real quick, like I got some traffic counts towards
Oh,
the end,
okay.
some, even more in January, and give you an idea of what, I had one set up on 265 here a couple of weeks ago, and right off of 271. And it just, now the second from the bottom, that's 160, that's Hermit. That was on a weekend that Donna had an event out here for 100 years, so. that's what-
1,039?
We had, in one day, we had almost 1,700 vehicles.
That's the road that we're talking about closing for the culvert.
Yeah, but she had the event there, so.
Yeah, so it's gonna be, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be kinda like Rosita Road, 69 is probably gonna be more than.
During that time of the year, maybe a lot less.
Rosita Road and Highway 69 gets so much because of the line for one,
What was the time frame? I mean,
it'll show the dates to the right. It was 1 week.
was it a week? Each one of these is the same length of time.
Oh, this is not average daily traffic.
Well, it's for 1 week, but then I averaged each day.
Oh, okay.
For that 7 days, and it gives us
Just
the
what the
average
window
daily.
was, okay.
So on Rosita Road, 689 was a daily count through the week,
Yeah.
average.
Average.
It wasn't the week's count. It is
No,
a daily
that-
count.
That was for
It's a
one
daily
one day.
average.
On the
Multiply that by 7, and that
Yes.
would be the total.
Yeah. Some of these roads get 5,000 to 6,000 vehicles a week.
I don't know why I'm thinking we ought to make a Hermit Road a toll road. Just a joke. Don't
Gary,
put
get
that
out of
in
here,
paper,
he's
please.
going berserk.
Yeah, and this was interesting because this obviously you did this on purpose. That's the same time of year that we would be looking at October-ish.
But he did that in August.
Yeah, I ran actually in August for Herman.
That's why it's gonna be less than that.
Yeah, I was just looking at your October 31st, October 18th.
Yeah, and this year I'm gonna get a lot more. I'm gonna have that thing once the weather,
Breaks loose.
yeah, I'm gonna have it laid out pretty much constantly. I wanna get a lot of root counts and see what we're dealing with. So.
On that 265 County Road out there where that Y is, do you think a lot of that was because of Langston was hauling or not?
Well, some of it,
Some.
percentage wise, I'm not sure, sometimes they're taking, 271, it depends on the condition of 265. Once it starts to get washboard, I think they shift over to 271 and get the good idea.
But I wouldn't think he could round trip those 2 or 3 trucks more than twice a day at the max, huh?
I'm not sure where his source is.
I
Yeah.
can tell you how many trucks are going past.
Well, I was just talking about Mike Langston specifically.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
where
telling,
she
that's what I'm
is.
talking about too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've been watching and counting. We figure over 50 trucks a day.
Wow, no wonder that was.
Yeah, and from my conversation with Mike, I could be wrong, but I thought he was running at the maximum of 3 belly dump trucks, round tripping those from his pit in Florence, coming up the hardscrabble.
It's like 7 loads.
Well, it's
I can't-
every 10 or 15 minutes, there's a Langston truck coming one way and then back the other way. So they're coming up hardscrabble, they're going down to the pit, they're coming back, going down hardscrabble, and then I followed a couple of them and they turn and go towards Florence. So I don't know how they're
That's
staying
where
in
his
the
pit's
county.
at, yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't have to stay in the county, he can haul from outside the county.
So it looks very much to us that he's coming from outside the county,
Right.
through the county, and then back out into Fremont County. So
Yeah.
why is he going through Custer?
Yeah, and that's not the case. He, from my conversation with him day before yesterday, he is hauling from outside of the county up the hardscrabble to his house, which is in the county, and then back down the hardscrabble back to his pit.
Oh,
in
okay, so we're just
Fremont.
mistaken about that.
So,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I'm certainly not
It is really
disputing or
different
arguing.
situation if that's the
Right.
case, yeah. 'Cause we just thought, why even come into Custer County?
Right. Yeah. So that was the information that I gleaned from that conversation, that he is terminating his haul in the county. So,
Going out empty.
That is true, he's going out empty.
yeah. Yeah, so you had 194 average daily traffic on 265.
Which road is 265?
That's the one that goes to Boneyard Park.
Off of 271, it Y's off of 271. Yeah, I guess my comment back to when you had done these was, I was thinking about, are we gonna get a sample from that time of the year if we're looking at putting that bridge in? I mean, it wouldn't do any good to do a traffic count there in June or July. That's gonna totally be different than October.
Yeah, it's too late to get it, if we do it this fall.
So,
I wouldn't think if we did one right now, it would be very
Much
much.
probably
different
now
from
wouldn't be
October.
different, that's right, that's what I'm getting at.
They might just go ahead and get it soon.
Yeah, the
There's
summertime
no,
counts.
There's no tourists, there's no events out
Yeah,
painted.
Mm-hmm.
There's no events
At
at
least it
Horn
would-
Creek. Horn Creek goes down, School, or, Horn Road anyway.
Well, a lot of those buses come down
So, I
there
mean,
to
that bus
cross
traffic
this
is-
road. I mean, they could, obviously if we're blocked off, no problem, they can just go down Schoolfield, but, yeah, I was just thinking that would give us a representative number that we could look at and say, yeah, we're gonna impact a couple hundred vehicles a day versus 1,000, so.
I'll have those numbers before the next meeting.
Yeah, a lot of those buses come up from Gardner for some of it, I've seen them, and they'll go down Horn, and then some of them will go into Schoolfield. I've never seen them come into Hermit.
Well, I do.
Have you seen a few of them?
Absolutely.
Because I haven't been down there for
Yeah.
the right time.
Yeah, probably not as many that coming down of the South Country, because they do
Right.
probably cut across, but those that come through town.
Yeah, they'll go.
But yeah, good, okay. And then I was just looking at your work list, work completed list here, I think you gentlemen have those.
Can I just mention something that Bill and I talked about, and we've had this conversation in the past, just kind of a reminder. Wetmore is interested in getting blacktop on the front of their property, and I believe we've had conversations in the past about at some time, if you ever have any extra, that's where we'd like it to go. I just want to bring that to your attention. I mean, we talked about it before, I just want to remind you that that was one of the conversations that we've had.
Okay. Yeah, and when the conditions allow for it, when
Sure.
there's fire back up, their plant down there, we'll make sure that site's prepped, and when it fits in our schedule.
Great. I don't want to spend a lot of money. In addition, what I'd like to do is, while another project is going on, well, we could do that too.
That's what we talked about.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
just like to-
expenses, it's gonna be pretty
Thank you.
minimal for that, so.
Thank you.
And then I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up to you, Gary, we had talked about it at some point here in the last 30 days or 45 days, and that's safety meetings and recording those and getting those documented. I would like to ask for you to bring those summaries of your safety meetings and include those in your monthly report.
Okay.
I don't know how often you're having those, I don't know what time of the day you're having them or whatever frequency, but I'd like to kind of get that up on the table somewhere and address that.
Frequency of what?
Safety meetings.
We had one last week, and what I'd like to do is probably have one every 60 days. Yeah, I can do that, sure.
You don't see a need, because of the nature of these guys' work, to have a weekly safety meeting.
No, if we had them that frequently, we'd struggle to find something to talk about. Honestly, I think. These guys are at that age where, if I had an age group from 20 to 30 or 20 to 40, it's not been hurt around the world with these guys, so to speak. And his experience is what they are, it might be different, but I think the youngest guy got work in his mid-40s, so, and we go clear up to 70, so it's one of them been there, done that kind of things, and they know what it takes to.
And I understand what you're saying, I just don't think that age precludes anybody from getting into a pattern of, I've done it for years, I'm not gonna
Get
worry about
complacent,
it.
everybody.
Well, exactly, and that's why it's important to have them.
I'm really kind of blown away by the fact that this is not an absolute hammered deal, that we're gonna have a safety meeting every Monday or every Thursday or whatever, just because of the nature of the work.
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect it in any other department in our county, really, but I was very surprised that we were not hammered. And I'm not discounting what you said about these guys have been doing it for a long time. I get that. I've seen dozer operators with thousands of hours experience, man, get in a major wreck because we just get complacent.
Exactly, and I can see that happening, that's why it is important to have the safety meetings, but, as I'm out and about with these guys, I oversee and look at what's going on, and they do a really good job following the safety rules and regulations, so. And when they don't, they hear about it, so.
Well, I certainly defer to you because you are the supervisor in that deal. I just want you to know that, as a commissioner personally, I think we need to be doing something in that area, certainly more frequently than every quarter or whatever, but I would defer to you.
We'll do it at least every 60 days, and even more often than that if I feel the need. If I see something that comes to my attention that needs to be talked about, we'll just have one right away. So.
Well, yeah, and obviously we've had some issues in the last couple months, and things happen. That doesn't mean that they were reckless. I don't mean to suggest that those things happen because we weren't having safety meetings. That's not what I'm saying. But, all right, very good. What else, sir?
That's all.
Gentlemen, good.
Did you want to discuss
Pardon?
We're not done with the agenda.
I thought you wanted to talk to Gary.
Just that, really, thank you. I just wanted to mention, and we did talk about that a little. You're talking about Bunker Hill Road? Yeah. that he had read the attorney's letter.
Yeah, I just thought you said you
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
bring it up during his thing,
Oh, okay,
and so
gotcha, thank
that's
you,
why I was
okay.
just reminding
Yeah,
you.
and I actually had thought probably the conversation that we had was sufficient then, but that's why I had this look on my face, is because I thought I was comfortable with the discussion we had.
Yeah, I don't know that I've got anything to add at this point, so.
Yeah, I just think we probably need to get educated and get up to speed on it.
That's what I.
Okay, do we wanna let Amy, well, he's here.
Yeah, that's what
I'd love
I'm
it-
just
I'd love
saying.
to talk while he's here, that'd be great.
Yeah, I meant,
Okay.
did you have anything else before we moved on to?
No, I'm.
Okay, all right, yeah. Then, Miss Amy, I just want to make sure we went through your stuff, Gary, before we turn the floor over.
Okay, well,
to
first thing I
Amy
wanna
Finger.
say is that in no way do I want this to construe that we are complaining about road and bridge, because we are not. You guys have been just like overtime out at Bear Basin, and it's like, that's actually, I think, what the problem is that you having to do that. So we are just so, I mean, you guys are just trying so hard to make that road good, and I just feel like it's costing the county so much to keep that road going.
Amy, you're welcome. I thought we had another chair. It must have got thrown
Oh,
out
that's
into
okay, I can stand for a little bit.
and for the record, because you weren't here for audience introductions, this is Amy Finger, and has asked to be on the agenda to speak about the road. So you're welcome. We can get you a chair if you prefer.
Oh, I just prefer to stand,
Okay,
thanks.
all right.
So anyway, I wanted to just thank Road and Bridge for all that they've been doing, and they've been addressing some safety issues that have been problems for years and years and years, and here's a picture of the end result of a wonderful job,
Yeah.
well done, on County Road 260.
Mm-hmm.
So most people don't realize that we have like 5 or 6 miles of county road going right through the ranch, open range, where it's not fenced off from our horses and our cows, and it's 260, it's 271, it's 265. Yeah, so
Thank you. for
so
that
it's like
picture, too.
huge
That's
that,
great.
you know, and it's a safety issue for all of our neighbors. So today's issue really doesn't affect Amy and Gary, because we live, you know, a mile off County Road 271, but it affects everyone around us, and of course everyone comes to us to talk about it. So we're hearing it from Guy Madden, who drives a school bus. We're hearing it from Hal Walter, who comes to pick up his kids, from Dave Bennett, who is the transportation supervisor for the school, saying it's tearing apart their school buses. I mean, everybody comes to us because it's them having to drive through Bear Basin. So I'm sort of representing all these neighbors. But
What's the issue?
so the issue is this 50 trucks going by every day, and if my understanding is that he's got a project that's
Is that
over
the
with
Langston trucks you're talking about?
the Langston trucks. Yeah.
Well,
So
Okay. I
Do
wasn't
you think
just
that's the
The
only
issue.
trucks, or are there other trucks?
you know, I think that is the only gravel haulers
Okay.
going past. There's certainly other trucks, but nothing like that. I mean, that's every 10 or 15 minutes from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night, and it doesn't stop on Sundays, and even New Year's Day. Okay, so
Yeah, I just want to be careful. If we say
Uh-huh.
50 trucks and we start saying there's 50 Langston trucks, if that's a fact, that's fine.
right.
But
Well,
if
we
there's
think
other
it,
trucks,
we think it is, and we've been really observing this
Okay.
for quite some time. So like, here's a very telling deal. You know, I mean, so if what I understand is that he's got a project that's going to be over with before summer, then that it just kind of solves the issue, and he should keep going with this frequency until he's done and gets
Yeah, that
out of
was-
there before summertime comes, because the biggest issue is all the people who live next to the road when summer comes, because right now is actually the ideal time to have all these trucks going by, especially if we start to get snows.
And the road freezes up. And
Yeah, so I mean,
beating it up.
there's absolutely no complaint on anyone's, I think, if this could be done with before summer.
Oh, I absolutely believe that's the
Yeah,
case. I would
because
guess he's
the telling
other
thing
one.
about this is that this is the kind of dust that's created right into these buildings here where people live in the summer. But no one is living there right now.
No, I'm convinced that that's not,
Yeah.
he'll be done long gone in
Okay, well,
another
if that's the case,
30
then
days.
that is fabulous.
I can certainly ask him, or
Yeah.
you can, Gary, if you talk to him.
Yeah. So if he's offering to lower the frequency, that's not the issue. It's be done with it before these people have to live right here.
Okay.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's talk
With
through
that.
that, see what we can do.
You can see the problem. I mean, this is like almost
This is
a
significant.
major health hazard.
I agree with your concern,
Yeah.
no problem.
Well, yeah, and believe me, we all feel your pain. I live on Hermit Road and we get that exact thing and we've got, they
Right.
run out of that pit year round.
Right, but these are young people living like 20 yards from this dust. I mean, this road, it's like,
Yeah, you know, that hasn't happened in the past, and he's not planning to do, as long as his fill gets up, and it's an opportunity, what he did, and I think he missed it, was utilize the time and keep his guys busy.
right. Okay, so then another suggestion was that, you know, I understand he's got a place he's coming to in Custer County, but it is so much shorter for him to go up Oak Creek Grade and back down Oak Creek Grade. I mean, it's the distance is so much shorter. And then, I mean, you need some expert opinion about how easy that is. I mean, I know it's steep. I mean, I drive that thing all the time. Another trucking friend of ours says that is totally possible with those trucks, and it's like half the distance, or maybe even
To
less.
that pit, do you know where the pit is that he's picking up the stuff from, or the?
Well, I know that it's in Florence, from what you just said.
What part?
And so then coming up Oak Creek Grade would be, I mean, he's going down Oak Creek Grade into Fremont County. I mean, I thought.
Yeah, I met some of his trucks empty going down the hardscrabble the other day. Now, I don't know if that's a standard practice. I'm just telling you what I observed.
Okay, so what we observed is they come loaded up
Right.
hardscrabble, down past the ranch, go all the way down what seemed like out of the county, but maybe that's where his property is.
It
It's right on
is
the line or
very
something.
near the county line.
Okay, and then they come all the way back and
Right.
come all the way down the hardscrabble when they could just be going straight down Oak Creek Grade and out 15 miles, you know. So I wonder if that's something that could be asked. Why?
I certainly have a relationship with him good enough that I can have that conversation.
Oh, there we go. So it's just such a simple solution.
Well, it may not be a solution, but I can certainly talk to him about it.
He'll have some reason why they do that. I mean,
Well, I know the
We
reason
don't
why,
know
and
what
that's
it
because they prefer to be on the
Sure.
pavement of hardscrabble than
Sure,
on the gravel road going down the switchbacks.
yeah.
So, you know, but it's something to talk about anyway, because it's such an easy solution, and it's costing Custer County a ton of money to keep
I agree with that.
the roads up.
But then those people on Oak Creek Grade are gonna come in and say, hey, why did you suggest that? Now,
That's
Yeah.
all
That's
Fremont
Fremont.
County.
Oh, by the way,
See,
yeah.
the
Let
Fremont
them grade
County
the
road
road.
has already got polychloride on it. I mean, it's like a paved road going down that sucker.
Oak Creek Grade?
Oak Creek Grade's like polychloride. Well, from the section that we're talking about, it is.
On the
It's-
Fremont County side.
Yeah, we're not talking
Oh,
about
on the
from
Bree-
Silver
okay.
Cliff. We're talking about from Boneyard intersection down. It's like incredible. It's almost like a paved road.
Yeah, the only thing that's got durabland or mag chloride on it is the county line, that portion that Fremont County takes care of. That other you're talking about that looks so good, it's because we were out there about 2 weeks ago and bladed it, and there was snow on it, and it's sealed back down tight. It
I'm
looks
not
like,
talking Custer County, I'm talking Fremont
oh,
County.
on the county line then.
Oh, well, I think all the way down, all those switchbacks down. There's amazing,
Oh, you're
Road
talking
cover.
Fremont County?
Yeah, Fremont
I was
County.
on that yesterday, and
Yeah.
it's starting to fall apart
Oh,
because
is
of
it?
dry conditions, war sports and things like that. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
as good as you think.
well, we came out last week, but, yeah.
A question,
Yeah.
maybe a suggestion.
Uh-huh.
If, maybe we can make an agreement with Langston that just says, if you think this is acceptable, and I'm putting words in,
Uh-huh.
that they can use the current route until these folks move into this home, move back here for the summer, and if they still have more to do, then at that time they would start using Oak Creek Grade. Does that sound reasonable? I mean,
It
are
sounds
you- would that
reasonable
work
as
for
far
you?
as our concerns, but I don't know about your concerns.
My
That's
concern
your
is
business.
they're ripping up our roads and we're paying to continue to.
And also we're wondering
Maintain our
if this is
roads.
a private enterprise to, you know, for a private project, didn't he need a permit? Wasn't there a process where neighbors get to say something about, you know, the impact
not
that's
that
gonna
I'm-
happen?
I'm not
That
aware of
never
that.
happens?
Not
I
in
mean-
this
Not to my
situation.
knowledge.
If it was a commercial project, it might be different.
If it was in a corporate area they were doing
Yeah.
it, maybe, but
So we were never consulted about all of a sudden we're gonna have 50 trucks a day coming down.
No, but there's no reason why, because you see a problem that they're good neighbors, and he'll want to do the right things, to talk.
Yeah, I don't know him
the
at
right
all.
thing to do.
Well, absolutely.
And he is doing it in the off-season with. so
Yeah, no,
that's
it's a
helpful.
perfect time of year, so if he's willing to make an agreement like that,
And I
with
think
the
Tom-
realization that, yeah, these are right next to the road, but that still doesn't address the school bus issues
I
and
agree.
stuff like
I
that,
think He's
so.
ripping up our roads.
Yeah, and then the cost of the county is just
That's
seems
my point.
huge, and as a taxpayer, I'm like concerned about it.
I agree.
Yeah, but he has every right to do it, that's the other
Yeah,
thing.
that's the thing.
He's no different than anyone else in this county that are tearing up our roads.
Yeah, well, it's
With these
different
trucks.
with 50 trucks a day, it's a little different than somebody just driving down the road, right?
Yeah, it's more traffic than what we normally see, but
Mhm.
by the same token, he's got the right to do it.
Yeah.
Just like he decided you wanted to do it.
And we have the right to talk to him, and we will, and see what he can work out.
If this
With
was an
the-
ongoing issue, I would say maybe we need to talk about, should we establish a policy, a rule, a regulation, something? But I don't think that it rises to that by any means, an isolated incident.
Okay.
And
Well,
I agree
especially if
with
it's
you,
over
I
in a
don't
couple
like
months.
having to have their road graded 3 or 4 times more often than normally would when our road and bridge folks could be doing something else, but I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast. When someone's building a new home, they rip up a road, bring all the material in, and we have to grade more often, and that's just the way it is.
Okay. So one of the things we looked up, just to see what the standards were out there, is this linked to Pitkin County? And what their standards are as far as what requirements for permits for doing projects, and so that's just a good link to browsing through it, and they, it's just a resource.
Yeah, he certainly would not need a permit to do what he's doing. That's my understanding. But, and I'm not trying to minimize your concern, Amy, thank you for bringing it to us. I would agree that it's probably increased traffic more than what normally happens out there, but it's certainly
Nice picture.
not an isolated event. It happens all over the county, and I
Okay.
guarantee you, it happens on Hermit Road continually, year round.
This is the best.
So, but my conversation with Mike was, it certainly, I would feel comfortable saying within the next month or month and a half, he'll probably be done with that project. But he also said, I'm willing to scale that back if it's causing you an issue.
I would say hurry it up.
That's what I was gonna
Would be
say,
the
just-
thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell him to slow down and drag
Yeah,
it out.
like, 10 more trucks is fine with us, every 5 minutes, and then just
Right,
get it done.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Good.
Yeah,
Well,
okay,
thanks for
so,
bringing your
we,
concern to us.
okay,
And
great.
don't hesitate to do it again.
Yeah, all right, well, we don't
Yeah,
wanna,
he may
we don't wanna
stop all the-
complain and like think, we want even more attention out there, because we don't.
He
We
may
want less
stop,
attention.
he may stop
Thanks,
hauling
Amy.
altogether
Okay.
if he has a project to
All
put
right.
those trucks on.
Don't run
Sure.
off. Come on,
Okay.
thank us all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate you bringing it to
I
us.
remember, yeah, we were out there working on the cattle guard, cleaning the cattle guard.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, that's
I
where
knew
we
you
met.
were familiar.
Yeah, that was good. You see our horses all over the road all the time. Yeah, so that's, it's another always concern is that somebody's gonna, we see people coming across the washboard and wiping out on the side, and we're thinking, oh geez, that's gonna be one of our horses one day.
Yeah.
But, whatever. It is what it is. Horses have to cross from one pasture to the next to get water, go back in to get feed. We can't fence it all off.
No,
Yeah.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Thanks,
for your
Gary.
efforts.
Keep up the great work.
See if
Take a 5-minute break real quick.
Sure
You
thing.
good? Coffee's hitting everybody.
That's my guy.
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
All right, I'm gonna skip out unless there's something else that you need me
No.
for. Okay.
You're good.
Thank you, Miss Amy.
All right.
Say hello to Mr. Gary.
Okay.
Go.
Good morning.
It's always that look that I wonder if there's
Something going on
words
behind that
or always,
smile.
yeah,
Well, these recordings and cameras.
freaking you out a little.
We're in the
Well,
process
welcome.
of hiring a person to do makeup for us.
Bring them.
We're gonna need a lot of,
I could use it.
It's a big job.
big job.
Yeah.
All right,
So
sir.
anyway, we have all the totals for 2017. And I always hear you talking about cars and pickups and traffic counts and everything, but we count all the vehicles that go to the landfill too, so you can see the changes. Anyway, it was a good year, 2017 it was.
Yeah, I'm surprised the first quarter vehicle counts were higher than the fourth quarter, or were they? No, maybe I'm talking, no, I guess not. Those were the lowest the first quarter, okay, that makes sense to me.
So I keep thinking about that person who brought a refrigerator or some major item and left it outside the gate, and then came back a few days later and paid you for that. Has that occurred again? I mean, that was so weird. I mean, I appreciate that person for at least trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, you know, it happens once in a while, not very often.
Was it closed when they came and they just left it?
Yeah, it was a holiday.
That's wild, isn't
I
it?
forget what holiday
Gotta
that
appreciate
was.
that spirit.
The last time I went.
Yeah,
So at least they came back.
Yeah, that's,
right.
yeah.
You still had to deal with it, unfortunately, but
Yeah, because we don't take refrigerators, and so we have to deal with that. It is what it is.
have you heard any more about the wells that are going to be drilled? Or is that still
No,
kind of on hold?
I'm just thinking it's probably gonna happen here real soon. I just haven't heard any more from them. They're definitely doing it.
No,
It's just we don't know when.
still being paid by somebody else.
Right.
Like,
So that's gonna be a great thing. Get those wells drilled, and they're paying for it. That's what I like.
I sat in on a CDHPE steering committee legislative meeting in Denver, and a couple of the, Crowder was there, Senator Crowder, and they were talking about, and they really had a real frank discussion about CDHP needs to back off of these landfills and let them function and quit passing all these restrictions and then just offer no help and then just start banging these small counties over the head with these laws. And they
Sure.
sit right there and said, you know what, you're right. We have done this. We need to take another look at how we're going to approach this. It started with the closures, the post-closure treatment of these, but they got around to dealing with or talking about current landfills that are operating and just not trying to hammer us to death. And I appreciated that and told them that I thought that, at least coming from our small county, I think we're doing a great job, but we've got to quit getting beat up with all these stinking threats of litigation and fines and so on and so forth. They agree.
They actually are trying to help, so that's
Yeah,
refreshing,
yeah,
actually.
it is. I felt good about it.
Right? You know, they're gonna wait because they were charging us everything we sent them. It was $125 an hour for them to read anything.
We had that discussion, and I'm telling you, those county commissioners got up in the middle of them and said, this is ridiculous.
Right, because, you know, okay, we want you to send this report to us. This is what you have to do. You have to send this report to us. And then we're gonna charge you for reading that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they're backing off on a lot
Yeah.
of those things. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You got a good relationship with them?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That's a good question on your report. You have the fee paid, makes sense. What are extra fees? What is that? What would that entail?
Tires, appliances,
Oh, when you charge in addition to the back things.
tree limbs,
Gotcha.
all those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Cardboard sales, we knew we were just under 20,000 for that.
Right. And actually, he got another check because we did send a load out in December, late December, and so he did get another check.
Not reflected here.
Right. 2,000 something, so that would be a little more.
Good. These blue recycle bags, those come from Oak Disposal. That's where you can go to buy those. That has nothing to do with us other than keeping that material out of the landfill,
Right.
which is
Right.
huge in my opinion.
Right.
Um,
It's a big help.
but
It is.
she recycles that through somebody else, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has a big.
Yeah. And it's a kind of a two-edged sword. I'd really like to see the county get behind that whole idea because we have done that
Over out there.
personally, and to me, it's not the money end of it. It's the amount of material that's got to be going into the landfill. I mean, if you take the material that we've put in bags over 30 days and multiply that by the number of family units in this county, it would have to be significant.
Sure.
Granted, we don't mash it all down like you guys would if it ended up in the landfill with your compactor, but.
So what are you asking, Tom?
Well, I'm not asking
What are
anything,
you-
I'm
what are you
saying
pointing
that
at?
I would like to see the county promote recycling and keeping this stuff out of our landfill.
The more we keep it,
I think-
the better off we are.
Yeah, I think she charges $3 a bag for those blue bags. Not everything except cardboard is my understanding. And obviously, if cardboard comes to you guys, that does get recycled in the
Right.
county, correct?
Right, and they do have a roll-off container at Oak Disposal that people bring their cardboard over there, and then they haul that out to us on Fridays.
Right, yeah.
And they haven't charged anything for doing that. It's kind of nice of them to do it. That
Seems like you're getting a pretty good turnout of people doing.
a lot of
Separate.
cardboard
Yeah.
recyclers.
Yeah, which is way cool. I'm thinking about volume in our
You
landfills.
bet.
That's,
Yeah, it really helps us out.
good. Good, good.
And this other is just this is the fourth quarter report that I sent to Colorado Department of Health.
What is it? It's not, don't say it.
Every quarter, right, every quarter, we send this report to the state of Colorado and send them a check. So every vehicle is 9 cents per vehicle.
I'll be darned, I didn't know that, okay?
Pickups, trailers, that kind of thing, 18 cents. And Oak Disposal is at 35 cents for every cubic yard they bring out.
And that's the state charging us at that rate,
Right.
criminal.
And so, you see, by the end of the year, we're sending them checks for, I mean, grand total probably between $4,000 and $5,000 every year.
And then paying them $125 an hour to talk to them on the phone, I guarantee you. It's just-
And you and I talked about Oak Disposal, and they're getting a break for some historic break because of, you need to explain this to Tom and Jay, that we may or may not necessarily need to give them. Is that what you're thinking, Russ?
Well, I think we need to keep up with what Colorado Department of Health is charging us.
Right. And so what are
And
they?
so they are at $8.30, and so we're only getting $7.95.
And so we're subsidizing Oak to drop it.
And so in the end, see, we paid, let's see if I have that figure here somewhere. We paid Colorado Department of Health $3,400 just for Oak Disposal to come to our landfill last year.
And what's the revenue on that? We pay 34, and what do we get from them?
It's $1 difference, right?
Yeah, so,
Saving in.
so you see, we charge them $8.30 a cubic yard.
Okay.
The state gets 35 cents out of that.
Right. So we're really in essence we're getting
We're
$7.95.
$7.95.
Okay.
And so in 2017, they brought out 9,783 cubic yards. We paid 35 cents for every cubic yard, that's $3,424 that we paid Colorado Department of Health.
See that, when it got set up originally, there was a way to incentivize people to use their garbage cans at the house, get them picked up by a truck and all that, so that it would be paid for. I don't think now that we've got things rolling, I don't know why we still need to subsidize Oak.
See, just in this fourth quarter,
I'm
they
still a little
brought out
confused.
2,331 cubic yards, and we paid $815.85.
Right.
I'm a little dense. Just explain to me the subsidy that we're giving. Where is that? We're charging them $8.30. I recognize of that we're paying back to the state 35 cents. Is that the subsidy, the 35 cents? Is that what we're referring to? I don't understand what this subsidy is that we're giving them.
Tell them what
Well,
if Joe Blow pays, what do we?
Is what happened in the beginning is that the county just decided to help out local business at the landfill, and so they were charging the trash companies a different rate than what you would
and I
pay
pay.
to come to the landfill.
Gotcha.
So when you come to the landfill with a cubic yard, it's gonna cost you $10.
I got it. Okay, so they're
No,
getting it
it's-
at $8.30 and everybody else pays 10.
Right.
I got it. They're getting a discount.
Right.
And that's what I didn't, that's what I
Right.
wasn't.
Yeah. Reasonable in my thinking. I mean, how would you like to have to deal with that many vehicles bringing in their trash versus Oak Disposal bringing it in?
Exactly.
How many yards in one of those trucks typically?
The biggest truck is 25.
25. So, yeah, I mean, you're talking another 50 vehicles to make up for one trash truck.
Yeah, we can.
So,
Then you're talking big time safety issues
yeah,
with that.
I don't look like it as we're subsidizing them. I mean, obviously, they have a discounted rate versus an individual one bag at a time user. That's reasonable business practice.
And it's just gonna flow back. If we went to Oak and said, we're raising your fee $1.70, I'm certain, not certain, but I would bet my bottom dollar that my personal rate would go up
Sure.
accordingly. I mean, it would just get passed on.
Sure.
So I'm not sure this is accomplishing anything
Mhm.
if we raised it. I mean, just my thought.
Yeah, we just need to keep up with Colorado Department of Health, what they're charging the landfill,
Right.
because it's expensive to run.
And I think if they raise their fees, it's certainly appropriate to go back to Oak at that time.
You have to share.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, but I don't think charging them the same as me bringing my one black bag today for $2 that I gave you, which I'm happy to do.
But you must be the only one.
No,
Everybody
I
else
don't mind
complains
it.
about it.
I don't mind it at all. I mean, what else am I
Well,
gonna
it's
do with it?
convenient,
It's
Yes.
certainly convenient.
sure.
Maybe
The people who work there are wonderful. I mean, I forgot his name, who always greets me, no problem whatsoever, nice man.
But it's a fine line. You have to be very careful because you can't drive it into the bar pits.
Absolutely agree with you. When I first moved here, they would say just drive it down the ditch and dump it and drive back out, and I'd come out with 2 flat tires and who knows what else. No, this is a great way it's going now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's the conversation in the direction we want to go, then we're looking at 27 cents between private vehicles. Same thing, if the thought is we're subsidizing Oak Disposal, we're subsidizing non-commercial vehicles, and because we're paying for theirs as well.
Yeah,
So,
I think that it's probably something that we could sure look at in the workshop that we're gonna have.
oh, really? Let me
Tell
get
us
my
when that's
calendar
gonna- Do you
out.
have it set yet?
Well, back in December 5th, we were gonna do that
I remember.
after the first of the year.
I remember. Let's get our calendars. You wanna find a date now, or do you wanna get back with us?
Anytime. anytime that the commissioners are freed up.
How about the afternoon of the 28th?
Talk about expansion, we can hash out quite a few things.
Yeah,
We have the last day of February, we have a BOCC. I'd be happy to do it that
Sure.
afternoon if it works for you guys.
Fine by me.
Okay, let's put it down.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock sounds good.
I would think, don't you, Brenda, we should be done before noon. So,
What are you asking her for? We gotta be careful what we say.
It's us, not
It's
her.
us, not her.
well, she's in charge of the agenda.
I'll just cut it off, no more.
So what is the date?
28th, last day of February.
Let's put it down for 1 if that's acceptable.
Yeah, is for me.
And if we have to change it, we will.
We're gonna meet.
Right here.
Here.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, Rusty might wanna show us his office.
Well, I was thinking we could maybe include a tour at the end of that.
That'd be great.
I would love to.
I don't wanna sit out there and have the entire
That
workshop.
would really be helpful.
Let's do
Let's
that.
do
Let's
it.
plan on a tour,
Let's do it.
courtroom and then a tour to follow.
Yep.
Okay? Hard hats for everybody. We don't really subscribe to hard hats in this county apparently.
Stop it. I was
Obviously.
teasing.
This other
Corner
commissioner
there.
can wait for that.
Guarantee it. Not a
You
good
guys
corner.
have a copy of these, what we charge
No.
at the landfill? I have
Oh,
one.
that's a good one, yeah.
If you have enough,
You got 3 of them?
Right here.
Yes, I'm sure we can make copies.
Yeah. you need,
This is good.
Hey, can I get a copy of that?
yeah, Miss Brenda,
Absolutely.
could we get 2 or 3 copies of that document, please? Mr. Smith could have one, probably
Actually,
3, actually, 3 copies.
put that in both papers last year.
Did you want a copy of this report?
Yeah, I'd love one, so I can.
No, I'm just gonna give it to Brenda so she can make a
Yeah, I was
copy.
gonna pass it to
Oh,
her.
okay. Thought you were trying to take
I
mine.
wasn't gonna
Okay.
take yours, good.
I need to know about the land.
Yes.
Why'd you flag out a lawnmower separately?
Oh, yeah, we don't,
You don't, you said no gas
To
and
be
oil for
determined.
TBD. You got a lot of people dumping lawnmowers out there?
yeah, people bring out their old lawnmowers and it's kinda hard to charge for them because people come by and they take them and rebuild them or it's no really
Get
not a
parts
problem.
or whatever.
Get parts off of them.
Set up a swap meet out there.
Could, pretty easy.
So if somebody were gonna bring out 4 or 5 batteries, you'd have somebody inspect them.
Yeah, we check them out before we drop them off. We still find things, you know, in the landfill itself, people try to find things.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I hope you're not finding any bodies and worse body parts.
No,
He's got it too.
the people,
You got it too?
Yeah, I had given you mine.
I've had them in the past where they threw things away that they didn't mean to throw away, and some of it was kind of expensive. You try digging that up.
Good night.
Once it's covered, and you go to digging in there, it's not a fun thing.
No.
Yeah, this is interesting, thank you.
Welcome.
Hey, before you go, so we got a letter from John Wright
Yes.
about buying land. How close are you out there to using up what space we have?
You know, we have, there's 100 and whatever, 60 acres, whatever it is, county owns right there. The designated landfill area that we're in right now is 21 acres.
Mhm.
And so we can go out beyond
So
that.
you can project based on what we've been using, how long it's gonna take to get to a position where we have to look for something else.
It'll be some years. Because Road and Bridge, their gravel pit, when they're finished over there, we could actually go over there.
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah, the only thing about that is they have to reclaim it. When they're finished over there with their gravel pit, they have to reclaim that area. And then if we go over there, we get to tear it all back out.
So could you plan to do that before they reclaim it and turn it into?
I think the permit that they actually have from the state is that it has to be reclaimed to get it okayed and closed with the land reclamation people.
But there may be a way that they would waive that.
Some commissioners
if we dealt
talk
with
to them about that.
it. But I mean, that would be silly to waste the money.
Right.
So, but then that's the
Yeah, they go in there, and we've already claimed quite a bit over there. And I noticed that Gary and those guys have done a little more in the bottom of that pit because they want you to keep reclaiming as you go, so there's not such a huge area.
Big open pit.
Right.
I would guess probably part of the thinking would be that there's no guarantee on CDHPE's behalf that if they didn't if they didn't reclaim it, does that mean that the landfill would use everything, or should they reclaim it all and we just dig up what we're going to use so that we do have some of it reclaimed? It would be my thinking. It doesn't make sense to reclaim it and come right in and tear it up. If it was going to do all of it, I'd say commissioners ought to squall about that. But if it's just going to be a strip initially for 8 months or a year, I'm sure they want that reclaimed, everything around it, all that space around it. So
even if they reclaimed it and went in there and stripped that topsoil back off, at least that's something that we'll be able to use again.
it's a duplicated effort, but.
Right.
And the EPA is okay with that? We don't have to have monitoring wells and all that kind of nonsense?
So we'll have to do some over there. If we ever get to that point, which is years down the road.
Because we've talked about this before, running out of room in the landfill. I've been worried about it. I know you have one or a couple of strips left that we can do.
Yeah.
Now you did note, I guess, that it's accelerated over what you thought it was going to be.
Right. And you talk to San Bernardo, and we're right on track with what they thought it was going to be in the beginning. 35, 40 years, whatever it was. But anyway, he said you're right on track with what's going on, so that's a good thing to know.
So how far are we into it? 30?
Well, we have 6 years left.
6 years to go.
And we'll be full.
Quicker than
But see, now I had a thought which we'll talk about in our workshop. And I talked to the state of Colorado, our permitting person from the state. We could actually, the trenches that we're in, when they're filled to ground level, we could actually start going up.
Mountain those, yeah.
So you could go up another.
Really? So you
10,
can use
12
them again?
The only problem with that is the wind. It'd be kind of hard to contain that trash being up at ground level like that. But that's a possibility that we could.
Yeah, a lot of landfills are going above ground instead of below ground. That one up by DIA, oh my gosh.
Right.
I don't know how much of that's below ground, but I suspect most of it's above
It's all
ground.
above ground.
Huge, huge.
Yeah, and when I talked to him, in fact, I just talked to her last week, and she said, yeah, we don't have a problem with that. If we need to do that, that's another possibility. At least even if you went up 5 or 6 feet, until you save the money to expand to the other area.
Short-term
So at least
approach,
we'd gain 3 or 4 more years.
How deep do you normally cut those trenches when you
20
open them?
feet.
20?
93 feet wide on top, 33 feet in the bottom. I used to dig those a little straighter, those side walls, but they decided that the slope needs to be more so they don't cave in on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if you went 8 feet high, that's another third. That's 33% more efficiency on a 20-foot trench,
Right.
if we can keep it in place.
See, I
Got
have,
enough dirt to do that? Go up that high? Cover?
yeah.
Well, I'll look forward to this workshop. That'll be interesting.
The only problem is Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one. It is a possibility, though.
Yeah, and we can talk about John Rice's proposal too. So
Sure.
too, because
And they're just south.
He's got some he's considering trading the right of way for some land and that kind of thing.
Mm.
To extend it, because he wants to have, he thinks that county road or what they're using to get the gravel out would be a good right of way and the rest of his place.
Oh,
So it's something to look at pieces, see what it extends it by, what kind of deals we can make.
how many acres?
Look
do
at
they
all,
have
look at
there?
all
They
prospects.
probably don't know that country.
They didn't all of it.
I don't remember the acreage, but
And it's 160 is what she wants to deal with, but he's got
Oh, directly south.
south end to the west.
Oh, okay.
mhm.
So, a lot of it.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of that. He sent a letter to the commissioners wanting to sell us some land.
Do they own clear over to 118 or Rice Road like we always call it?
Yes. What I understand.
Yeah, and I don't know. I haven't looked at the map, so.
So anyway, it's something to
That's a
think
lot.
about before he sells it to somebody that'll want to scam us when we really want it. It
Yeah,
depends on what we
right.
can do in the meantime, cut some right away.
Right.
But we can talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. That's about all I have, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and, I'll follow the theme that I talked with Gary. Do you do any safety training out there since you have equipment running?
Yeah, we do,
Okay.
once a month.
Okay, can you document or are you documenting that so we have a paper trail
Yeah.
in the event
That's
something
something
ever
that
goes
the
south?
inspector checks every time they come out. They come
Okay.
out once a year, and they always wanna know that.
Yeah, as they
Training,
should.
safety,
Good, okay. At your next monthly report, can you just include
sure,
a sample of that, the most recent one or something, so we look at it?
sure.
Okay, thank you.
We have Safety Monday, they call it Safety Monday. It's just a sheet that comes out from Swan, they send it out. And
Topics.
you just get that off the computer and hand those out to everybody, and every week it's different.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be rocket science, just something
Right.
to keep it on the
Right,
front of their
just so
mind.
everybody's got it in the back of their mind, you know, to keep
Exactly,
it going.
yeah, okay,
So hopefully it helps. Has so far.
good, yeah. Yeah. Well, and in the event something goes south on us,
Right.
we need to be able to document that and say we've had regular safety training, and
Exactly
these are the
right.
topics we've covered, and you may or may not cover that topic that caused the problem, but we gotta show intent that we were making an effort to try to operate
Right.
that in a safe manner and keep our employees.
And I buy videos. I bought a couple more last year from Blue Ridge Services, which is a safety landfill company that actually do CDs. And so we watch those. They're not very long, but gives them something to look at.
Okay, excellent.
Loader safety, you know, compactor safety, landfill safety, landfill basic safety.
Good,
That's a
okay.
good thing.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you bet.
Look forward to the workshop. That'll
Your
be,
next trip.
Okay.
yeah.
See you, Clint.
Thanks for coming in, sir.
Gotcha. Bye, Kelly.
Okay, see you, Rusty. Good day. Okay, Donna's on her way.
Thank you, Miss Brenda.
Yep.
I would be remiss, gentlemen, I'll bring it up. I think we're falling short of the mark in the road and bridge when it comes to safety training for these employees. I don't care how long they've been here, anything can happen. So Bill, I'd like for you, if you don't mind, to at least have a conversation, follow up with
Yeah, absolutely.
Gary and
See what he's got.
maybe we can check with other counties to see what they're doing, although,
It's, they have OSHA requirements they have to conform with anyway.
you know, I've never been around heavy equipment as an enterprise or commerce that there didn't there wasn't a lot of regular safety meetings. We get somebody killed, they're gonna wanna know our safety records. And we're gonna be in
No,
war.
when we were running the sawmill, it required them once a week. And just equipment, very equipment.
And even if he's trying to find something, I know, having worked in a refinery, OSHA puts out so much literature, even if you don't have a specific topic on point. You could take an OSHA topic and talk about something.
Well, and what they do, they hang that stuff, it's hanging all around there. But what they do is make sure you just remember this, and they got it a week before, 2 weeks later. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with the every 60-day thing. I don't wanna get in a big
How was
conflict
it? Did you go?
Gary right
They
here,
got
because we haven't had a chance to talk to him.
Monarch got several inches.
I'll
What kind of
do it.
involvement here?
I
I
understand.
think
Thanks for saying hi.
I'm ready to see it.
Take care,
I'll
everybody.
push for once a week safety meetings. We're crazy not to have them. We're gonna
And
get
if
there.
there's,
So.
I concur with you. First of all, I'm worried about the safety of our people, but also I'm worried about if, heaven forbid, we have an accident, the liability that we could face by
We all
being
would
with this.
face.
So it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Look who.
Yeah, all right, we'll move on. Human resource and finance guru is here.
Hi.
Hello. Sorry. That was, I got a knuckle caught in there, didn't I? Sorry about that. How are you?
Not bad, how about
Good.
y'all?
Doing well, thank you. Sorry, we're behind schedule this morning.
Well, I'm here for the day, so
Yeah.
good, there you go.
Yeah, you didn't have to get out and warm the vehicle to come over, did you?
And you and your clips, you got a good one.
Okay, so it's not, so this is the rating, but.
I just finished this morning, so those are, well, they were warm the first time I came over, now they've been outside twice, so.
Yeah, you came over once already, didn't you?
That's the second one. So you put 800 in the first one, and you double it. And then 512 in the second one, so you double it.
Miss Kelly?
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
I was gonna ask if you could move down the hall because of recording.
We'll move her down, and he's our recorder.
We had visited with Mr. Hyde this morning during his monthly report and asked him to touch base with you to see if we had a process in place for the dispensation of used vehicles. Or putting them out on bid versus selling them versus trading them in.
It just has to be fair and equitable. If it's between outside landing and we've done it several different ways and none have been more efficient or less, it just has to be open and above board.
There's not a-
It's a chance.
Not a set number of times we need to advertise a sealed bid opportunity in the newspaper.
The other thing I would suggest is probably both newspapers maybe, or, and then the website and, you know.
Once or twice. We don't have any ordinances or guidelines in place to say you have to advertise it 3 times or whatever. I'm sure he'll follow up with you on that,
Oh, see, and I'll be back. Oh, God, I do that every time, Cal.
So this is through the 31st of January, obviously.
What are we looking at and what are we,
Those are just the financials,
okay,
just the normal.
how are we doing?
In January, we're great.
Okay, so I gotta ask the next question, of course. And after that?
We're doing fine.
We don't have a year-to-date on these, do we, as we progress through the year?
Yes, it does.
Year
When I
to
run
date
these,
in
it
right
would-
there.
Yeah, it would be just since we're on our first
Right.
one.
That column will
Yes, it will.
populate, thank you. Okay. And the percentages are percentage used, I'm assuming.
It depends whether on revenue or expenditures.
Good
You know,
point, thank
on
you,
that,
yeah,
yeah,
this is
you know,
the
which
expenditure.
side, yeah. And the insurance fund is probably a little frightening, I would think. But it's always, I mean, that always happens.
I had a quick, when Don, when I should have asked you before you came in. The landfill, we have fees. Are we also, is there also, dollars that are out of the general fund that are part of what subsidizes the landfill, or is it all just the fees generated?
The landfill is located in the general fund, so if it were to be short, it would be.
Right.
That's the only reason that we've not made it its own fund in the past, is because we've found that we probably have to transfer money in.
Sure, because
Yeah.
your taxes as a homeowner up here, part of that would include, like it always has, trash, dump. Okay. So what we try to do is the landfill, we haven't been tapping the general fund in the past.
Is last year, I am going to say Rusty broke even, or maybe made a little profit.
Okay, so in the past it was a little bit.
Yeah, and that being said, the closure cost, he could not absorb that. That is, and we really don't have it saved back, which the auditor said we didn't need to have it saved back, but that could be a $500,000 expense if we had to do a closure right now.
But there would be no reason to do that.
No, but you know, when it's a fund, I think that closure cost might have to be integrated
added in
there.
May
Not
be
positive,
needed, yeah.
but that might.
Okay.
Is there anything here that you would need to bring to our attention that is not jumping out at us?
No, just the insurance, if you look at it in
Where is it?
it's Fund 40. I'm not sure which I did not bring, but it was $156,000 went out of that, just the premiums.
But that was to be expected.
First of the year,
Correct, and then I
absolutely.
had almost 11,000 on.
Page 17.
What page?
17.
But that unemployment reimbursement, yeah. And so we're showing over, but I believe the auditors will reclassify that back to 2017 because those costs were incurred in 2017, but the bill did not come until January. So it looks worse than it is.
So, the county's on a cash basis?
On our unemployment, yes, we reimburse self-funded.
Surprising me. Okay. Well, nothing else out of line. This really isn't even out of line, it's just probably an adjustment that needs to be made, is that?
Yes, and it would, I mean, the unemployment, until they paid through December, they don't know what we need to reimburse, so I couldn't have the bill at that time.
Good to me. Is this something you need a motion to accept, or is
No,
this
that's
just
just
an
been, it just
FYI?
happened to be
It's a
this
status.
day that I have them
Thank you for
done.
bringing that to us.
And we've expended some money on the conservation trust fund, correct? I think I saw that.
13,000.
No big movement on capital improvement to this point, doesn't look like, huh?
No, Rusty will, the loader repair will come out of there. February. The loader, I'm not sure what it was, something.
It's the lower.
Loader, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So is Mr. Paquette still on retainer and helping?
Well, he is still doing human services, so we've kind of gotten that thing where we kind of swap out. I do his, I post his stuff for him, and then he looks mine over, so that I can feel, we both can feel good. He doesn't have to stay here and sit and look at it and do it, and he can get mine so that I can look at it. So. I don't know what we'll do when he leaves with that CFNS. I mean, it's like just a big gigantic grant, all of the human services, pass-throughs and all that, and more complicated than I would like to try to mess up.
A question probably for you and Linda. I'm looking at the general fund on page 11. I see we paid our dues to CCI. That check went out, correct? Because there was some angst over that. And then, let me look in case I'm missing it here. We also have historically, oh, there it is. No, yeah, land use dues for CCI. I'm sorry.
And the reason I did not pay those maybe January 5th or 6th is we needed tax collection to cover those.
Okay.
Because they are big, and I know that every county, I'm not sure why they were so abrupt with us, because even our insurance is due 1/1, but I can't mail it
Can't pay
until the
it then.
31st because we're a zero-based budget, and I would
You gotta have the money in there to pay it.
pay it in, so,
Yeah. So we did pay the land use dues of $499.
correct.
I wonder why we budgeted 1,600 in that. That's a fixed number. We know what that dues structure is going to be.
Because last year it was more.
Oh, it was?
They reduced it this time, and I don't know why. I based those numbers on the prior year.
Huh. Yeah, I'll talk to Chip about that. It could be. Well, they haven't reduced they haven't reduced the assessment percentage yet, have they? From 7.1 to 6.9.
I think that goes,
It's on this year's.
is it in this year's? Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that, yeah.
Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. I'll follow up on that.
Where was that, Tom?
The land use dues, we pay separate dues, line 724. We are a land use dues paying county. Not every county is. We are. On page 11, Bill, line 724. Budgeted 1,600, and all along it was, from the paperwork I've seen, was scheduled to be $500. But if that's what we paid last year, that's.
But I can run a historical on that, but I would have, not in my defense that I don't need one, but I would have just made that number up.
Yeah,
I just used from before.
Yeah, I figured somebody stuck that number in there, and interesting. Okay. And we do have 10,000 budgeted in affordable housing, so I'm assuming that's.
That's for that grant, that study that's going on, that's 50/50 grant.
Okay. Okay. Have you been anywhere with the County Attorney Association?
I have not.
What you got? That'll just come to you, right?
Well, sometimes it'll come to you. They used to go to John Naylor half the time, and Debbie a fourth of the time, and me the fourth of the time, so.
Well, I won't pay it myself, I promise.
Oh, okay. I don't blame ya. It's pretty.
Expense accounts.
And then, the check to Eaton, that'll go out at the end of the month as normal, or are we gonna run that mid-month?
It was in this that you just
That
signed.
was, okay. Perfect, thank you.
It's at 2250. Good.
Hang on my face, I guess I'm going to.
Well, you just about
I was just gonna ask a
I
question
was trying to
about.
think of a nice way to know.
Yeah,
You guys are grilling me, I'll
Yeah.
just let out there.
that's right, yeah, good.
Good job, thank you.
Good job, Russ.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Oh, much better.
And your hands aren't cold,
Oh,
and that's
no, I know, that's because I have 3 layers.
Hey, have you noticed a difference in your office air
I believe it
temperature?
is, that it is
Warmer?
much better
Good.
without that door
Good, yeah,
and the breeze.
Hey
thank
Donna,
you.
have you heard anything from Cindy?
Do you know, the last I knew she was in Vermont,
Oh,
and
I see OEM is
I
up
believe they had a
next.
huge snowstorm there. I don't know if she could catch a plane back.
No,
Okay.
Cindy.
yeah, I mean, she's scheduled right now, so, and I
I believe
can't.
Alan's birthday was yesterday.
Okay, and I haven't heard
Well, I
anything
don't
from
know.
her, and
And I have not as well.
okay,
10:30, what time is it?
well,
Have
it's
you had
11.
communication with Cindy?
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, let's move on then, we can come back to that. Anything else under staff report that you're aware of, or obviously we don't have any other staff here?
One thing I do want to mention, Tom, I should have done when Gary was here, but I've been working with him. In the past, he's only loaded several lines. If you go through take a look at how they're loaded. Like on snow and ice removal, they were zeros, and they're still, the categories are the same as the ones above it, below it. So I asked him to break it out and manage the budget like you would expect them to, and that is put dollars in the categories. If it's gas and oil, what's the projected amount you're going to need this year? If it's tires, what's it projected? If it's salaries, which are separate, those are all taken care of. Problem he had last year, that he just leaves them in as one lump sum, and it's hard to see the breakout and how you're spending through the year. And I want to see it by the month. And I wanted to see, all right, we haven't been using snow and ice, so that whatever he's allocated for snow and ice removal hasn't been hit right now, and fine. But now in 2 months from now, maybe we get a big blizzard, and at least you know your spend rates, and you can take a look at the other items and say, oh, you haven't been spending anything for printers. I mean, something silly, but you can move money around. Last year, the perception was there was money we had to get at the end of the year, which was there already. It was in the budget. We just the way we are allocating it looked like it was something that was either overlooked or hidden or whatever. So I wanted to get it out to where we can see it by the month, what the spend rate is, and say, hey, if we wanted to make a decision on moving some money out of chains and tires group because we're not spending it into whatever the gas and oil maybe we're working in, and manage the budget like you would manage a checkbook.
Yeah, and I would think a percentage column on there, just like Donna does,
Right.
you know,
Sure.
we've expended 33% of our fuel budget so
Right.
far.
And so he's done that. He's actually categorized it better. He's got tires and all that in there. And you look at the other rates, he's and we're strapped with a category that the state has laid on him, and so you can't fill them all out anyway. But it would be better. I don't care internally. You've got one lump sum, and we know where the income comes from, and we're going to track it as we're spending. So
I'm looking for that document now.
Can I bring something else up that we heard of yesterday that really kind of shocked me? Apparently there's a state statute that Road and Bridge needs to report to the state not only on how much fuel they used and what their projected fuel for the following month would be. Remember Dennis talked about that yesterday? He mentioned that, and I was sitting there going, gosh, I've never heard of that. Do you remember that, Clint, by any chance?
I don't recall him saying that.
I'll tell you what, let me find that.
Find
And I'll send it to you, Bill, and just look at it. It may be nothing, maybe something you're already doing, but I'm sitting there going, whoa.
So you're saying that this document we have here, which is obviously his budget, I'm assuming this is 2018 budget,
Right,
not
and it is.
2017.
It couldn't be 17.
So
he's breaking out the categories: road, base, and gravel, 100 grand, culverts, $20,000. He may or may not use that, and as we get closer to the end of the year, where are we hurting in other categories, and we need to move money out of one into the other. He can do that, but now we have the visibility, and you can track it instead of saying, well, I know we've got one big lump sum over here we've been keeping, and we'll spend it eventually.
yeah.
The idea is to show the voters of this county that the mill levy on what they expected to be spent on road and bridge is being spent that way. And that every dime, we want to spend every dime we can and not have something sitting and rolling into the next year if we could be fixing a road when we have enough money to do it. And one of those that he brought up, there's an opportunity probably to lay some asphalt when we start doing this. On the Oak Creek grade, there's 2 miles that we'll probably be able to afford if we're watching the dollars as we go through the year and be able to fix it more permanently. So anyway,
I see he hasn't carried any of those over for January, so he hasn't filled out.
No, he hasn't filled out what
January.
he spent yet because he needs to tally that up and see where we're spent.
No, I think it's a great idea. We need, in every department, we need to be looking at any given month and say, okay, where are we at for the year to date?
Right, and then, because you may have something come up and say, well, where can we go move? And I did talk, as I mentioned before, to the auditor down in Pueblo. And we can move things from easily up and down on funds, and we can also move things across funds that are, with that, when you consider the certain restrictions that are there. You can't do it in some cases.
That's correct.
But we have the visibility, and if we keep tracking it by the month, it's easier to deal with an emergency than trying to figure where are we going to get it if something came up, or we overspent because of some reason. So right now we're really doing pretty well, I think, actually, what we've got budgeted and what they're spending.
We tried to contact Cindy?
Yeah, did you hear what Donna said?
I'm sorry, I did not. I apologize.
That she thinks she's in Vermont and she might be stuck there.
That might be a long ride.
Vermont, the state, or
Yes.
Verdamont, the.
Vermont, the state.
Well, if we're gonna wait for her, we'll be here for.
Well, I
She did
tried
send some
texting her.
documents to us
I'm not
in our
sure.
packet, if you had a chance to
Yeah, I
look at
saw
those.
I did.
I haven't looked at them, I'm pulling them up just now.
I don't know what's new from what we talked with her in the last meeting we had. Not obvious.
Yeah, I looked at it, but, I didn't study it because I expected her to
Right,
bring us up to date on
I
it.
saw that we got it, and I let it go at that as well. So, well, we'll move
Table
on.
this for the moment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll bring it up when she's available. We'll put her back on the agenda if that's acceptable.
Yeah, you wanna make a motion for that, for the record? sir?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, because, the administrator for the emergency, office management is not here, that we postpone her report until she's available and then add it to the agenda at that time.
Yeah, whenever that.
You're okay with using the word table instead of
Yeah,
postpone?
we'll table it, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving and seconded to table the OEM monthly report until the manager is available. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. We'll table that. Thank you. Old business, the amended resolution from the fire department.
What changed?
They added,
I can point it out if you want.
yes, please.
Down under the now therefore part of it, use of premises, is that sentence, the last sentence there, any vehicle belonging to the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District that is parked in the center shall be off limits to any persons not authorized, who are not authorized personnel. And then the next one, access to airport premises, same thing, the last sentence, the personnel shall be permitted to use the restroom facilities in the building. Those were the only two changes.
I move that we accept the amended changes to the, interagency agreement.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the amended IGA with Wet Mountain Fire Protection District and the county. Discussion?
And that's all these highlighted areas, it's all
Those two
discussed.
yellows, right. And then
So everything else
obviously
is the same.
it's an amended lease agreement now, the very
And
last.
resolution number 18-01 to be amended.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm good.
Hearing no further discussion, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. The resolution 18-01 has been amended. Thank you, ma'am. And do we? It's not fair.
What's it?
Well, I had to
It's
take
not
off the
fair for me to
watermark.
ask Brenda if she would print that out so we can sign it when I hear her printer running already, so.
One step ahead, as
Yeah,
always.
tap of the gavel and the action is happening.
Yeah, I had to remove the watermark and the highlighting.
Wow.
And the assessed valuation doesn't come in until after the budget's done. So it's whatever, and that's where the 16 was 2 years ago, was when that was on there, and it has.
That's what made the difference.
So it is, that valuation is
So
driving
last year
down.
was 712, but it used to be 2,300.
Yeah,
So I just took.
well,
all
that's
the area.
foundation, that's different than land use, but,
Well, the foundation dues are 12, and, I mean, they're huge.
oh, those were
The land
combined,
use-
2,100 was combined.
No, that's land use only. We've had much bigger assessed valuations in the past.
Right,
And
Yeah, it
so
keeps
the difference
branching
between
down.
500 to 2,300, so.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter, it just didn't, it looked like in 2014, there was CCI Foundation and land use dues, both combined or no?
It could have been.
Looks like it probably was.
We changed a
They say
few of
land
those.
use on all of them.
But no, the CCI dues are 12,000 or 10
Right.
or 12.
Well,
So what is this then, Tom?
Those are just the land use
Well,
dues.
yeah, let's just talk about 2018 because that's what,
Okay, so you're only looking at land
right,
use.
the rest is just
not-
record.
Not the,
The land use dues is 499.
right.
Yeah, we've already paid the CCI dues. So, but it's interesting to see it's gone down.
Well, and the difference is that they can still change that assessed valuation like the day that budget needs to be mailed to the state. That's how close it could come. So I don't think I would ever just put the 500 in there, because yay if it would go up,
So you would recommend we budget more than
then.
that?
Or have it available anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it must be tied to the assessed valuation.
It's the money.
I just want to remember that this is a voluntary membership that we have, correct?
Correct, we do not have to pay those dues. Obviously, we have because we have a lot of national forest acreage in
I'm
our
not
county.
suggesting
No,
anything.
but
I
it's
just
not
wanted to-
required, that's right.
Just wanted to make
We
sure
can
that
opt in
that
or
was
out, either
known.
one. Yep, thank you for that.
And on
Appreciate it.
CCI, the best thing about them is if I were to send out a letter and ask, whether the counties do, they will pool more than likely almost every county to give us an answer.
That's
So
correct.
it's a great.
Worth
Thank
their
you, ma'am.
weight in paper. Well, I hope we budgeted a long time for public comment, which is next on the agenda.
Oh, God. Okay, Miss Kelly?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else under old business, gentlemen, that you're aware of?
Not for me, sir.
New business?
I don't have anything.
Either. Mr. Bill?
No, all I would like to do is take a couple minutes, since we're still in session here.
Yes.
We got anything else to talk about?
I do not. Under new business, no.
All right, I want to follow up on how you started off this meeting, and I'll wrap it up. I want to point out to everybody that we're a team. I'm not Bob Katnick, I'm not Donna Hood, I'm not Jay, I'm not Tom, but we're here together. And so if for some reason you think that something's happening that I have said or Tom has said or somebody, I don't care who it is, come to me and ask me. And I'll come to you as well, because there's no way, even though I'm a rookie, I'm not stupid. And I'm not gonna ever think that I have the authority to make a decision that it takes three of us to do, period. And when they came to me originally, they said, here's the rough draft. And they showed me a rough copy, and see, I got caught flat-footed, so I'm going back over it with you all. Because it's important that we get together and we think together and we've got each other understood, and that we can work together as a team. That's my whole life has been built around, and integrity is number one with me. And so when they asked me, here it is, we're going to take light pollution out, and we're going to redline this. And I said, well, be consistent. And if you're going to do that and propose it to us, show us what you're redlining. There was no direction that said, we'll take everything out and redo the whole thing. It's something for us to still consider and vote on and do the right process. That was all that was ever said. And as far as the other issue, talking in public or whatever it is, if somebody has suggested that, and I'll be the first to come to you or you, Tom, if somebody tells me that you all are decided that we're going to go build a bridge and go do it without considering it in a public meeting and us discussing it with the right people and the right experts in place. And that was my understanding with this zoning regulation. And also Clint, it's important that you're part of the team. And if there's issues that you hear of that we get us in hot water, that's why you're here, is to help us to not have that be a problem ever. So, I apologize if for some reason whoever took it and said, Jay, did you hear? Canada just directed us to clear all this out and we're going to have a new zoning regulation and this is it. That never happened. So if it is, and I'll guarantee you that neither I or Tom or you are sneaking around behind anybody's backs, that will never happen. So I just want to make that clear because I'm not.
I want to respond if I may.
Okay.
I'm sorry you took it that.
Well, you told me that I was out of line and I was exceeding my authority as a commissioner.
And I thought you were, based on, I'll tell you the kind of the story, how it came. I got a call from a newspaper reporter saying that, do I want to comment on this? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I called Jackie, I called Vic, and it was relayed to me that they were instructed to take out any reference to light pollution. Hang on, I went off the deep end. I called both of them.
Well, don't get upset. Call me.
I do. I get upset
I know you
sometimes.
do.
I know I do. I know I do. It's one of my character traits, not a happy one, but it does. I called them and said, what in the what is going on here? Who the heck does he think he is?
Mm-hmm.
How could he order you to do that without a commissioner's approval? Okay, so let me finish. I listened to every word you said.
Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to bring it to your attention. Haven't really seen you since then.
Yeah.
I dropped that one because I figured, okay, I wasn't going to make an issue out of it. It's not that important. It got resolved. Vic put out a notice. He polled his committee, and they all agreed, just leave it the way it was. Hang on. And I dropped it. Okay, not a big deal. But yesterday, when Vic said to me, I was told that you're not going to, that I was asked to make a comment before the meeting, that you were not.
Well, I just thought it was appropriate that they knew you all were there. That was the point.
Hang on. I felt, wait a minute, you don't speak for me.
Right.
And I brought that up. I fully respect you. I really appreciate you sitting here. Don't get that wrong.
Okay.
Because I have a year, which means nothing, okay? I'm just a commissioner like the rest of you.
Right.
But I thought it was important that we put on the table things that we have a concern about. When you said to me, here's how I feel, I said, thank you very much. I accept that. I never refuted a word you said against that. I said, I appreciate your comments. I wasn't there. You said something slightly different. I said, wonderful. I'm not here to argue, fight. I want to work as a team.
Same here. And so, Jay, check your temper sometimes when something hits you on the side. It's just my view of watching how you operate. I want to make you a success, and I want us to be a success.
I appreciate you asking me to watch my
it was
temper.
all about red line.
But I don't think that's appropriate.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I mean we just.
I have yet to raise my voice. Or
No,
say anything,
that's not what I meant.
But I have a right.
Sure.
If I feel that something took place, I have a right to bring it to this tribunal
Sure.
in an open forum,
In
which
some
is
cases,
what I did. I felt, especially yesterday, was totally inappropriate. And I speak for myself only.
Can't
And
believe that.
you said to me, I heard it differently than what you intended. I accepted it.
Okay.
I was over this. I mean, we're done.
Okay. Well, I'm good.
You brought it back up, so I want to
Well,
tell you
the
where
only
I
reason I
was.
did is to make sure you understood that it was the red line that came, that if we're gonna get red lines, we all understand what is being taken out and what's not. And
And I
we
dropped
work
that. It was really the thing yesterday that concerned me the most.
Right.
And you explained it, I said, thank you for explaining it, and I'm done.
Okay, and I'm good, I'm happy, but we really, I think I've seen a big difference in how we operate, and I've gotten a lot of comments. I'm all over talking to people all the time about the process, what we're doing. I've gotten good compliments on the team here that we've been building. And I hate to see it chipped at if we don't talk with each other. Call me. I'll call Tom if I have an issue.
You don't respond to me, sir. I've written emails to you, I've called you.
You have?
Yes, many times.
I've missed them then.
Okay.
Well, I think.
Emails are easy to miss.
And this is exactly what will keep us a healthy board of county commissioners for this county. Whether what transpired was what was related or not, we can't control that.
Right.
I responded the same way, and we were responding to what we were told. And so that's what we had to go on in this particular instance as of yesterday. Whether that happened or not is not really the issue, it's that's what we were presented with,
Sure.
that's how we're going
And,
to
you know,
respond.
I judge you, I understand your character, and I believe you have integrity, and we ought to respect each other for that. And if there's somebody that's coming around, who knows what context they get things from, or from their opinions of the past. So we just have to be careful and let's talk to each other. And if you can't get me on that email, because email's tough with anybody. Unfortunately, in this day and age, emails, everybody thinks that once you shoot an email out, that's communication. It's not. Because who knows why they don't get to it, and a lot of things happen. So be careful with that. Just might do the same thing. And I'm real big, and I'll call you in a heartbeat if I'm worried about something I thought you had said or we were doing wrong. We gotta understand that. And I don't mean making decisions. I would never call you and say, well, let's get together and figure out what we're gonna do. And it's never happened. It hasn't never happened with all of us right now. Just get that on the record, because we are very careful in making sure we're making decisions in the open. And that's why it would surprise me that anybody would accuse me of making a directing somebody to do something. I directed them to get it to in front of us, redline the darn thing, and do it right.
Accuse is a really difficult term for me, because in nowhere, we can go back to the record, did I accuse you of that?
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm saying that apparently somebody had taken it as direction that I'm stepping out of bounds, and you should know me better than that.
That way. You explained, I said, great, I'm done.
We're
Let's
good.
move on.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Well, I'm not.
Okay, we can have discussion.
I would like to get some attorney advice in an executive session, if it's acceptable to you, Mr. Tom.
Okay, let's go back. Obviously, we have one person in the public. Do you have any comments that you'd like to present to the board?
No, just that I have received questions from everyone, how everyone's doing. And I always relay that you guys are doing great and, you know, you get along well, you know, there are no issues. So I just wanted that note.
Appreciate that.
There's a tremendous amount, obviously, a tremendous amount of respect between the three of us.
Absolutely.
We treat each other with dignity, with courtesy, and you don't know how much I appreciate that. And I thank you for saying it, because I see it, I appreciate it. It's the reason we have three of us is so we can disagree.
Right.
If not, we have a king of Custer County who would make the decisions, and it's fine. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your work, your reporting, you're faithful. Man, long meeting yesterday, and obviously turned out to be a little longer meeting today than what we anticipated. Thank you.
Absolutely. And with that, I'll scoot out.
Okay.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
thank you.
Very much.
welcome.
Executive session, yes, Mr.
Is
Jay,
it off?
and
No.
you certainly
it's
are
not.
entitled to make that request, as any of us would be, so.
Really necessary
Let
today,
me-
not just to me being cautious. Is it?
I believe he has an item he'd like to discuss,
I have
and
an
it needs
item I
to be
would like
discussed
to
in
discuss.
executive session,
You want to talk
so.
to him?
And it may not be
No, he
inappropriate
just asked
to
me
make
to
it
put
thrown
that
out the
in executive
window, but I feel it's necessary.
Okay. Let me pull.
Taking the live streaming off?
As soon as you motion and we go out of regular session, then I will turn the live streaming off.
And is this a personnel matter, Mr. J?
No, it's executive advice.
Oh, for legal advice, I'm
Legal
sorry, you
advice,
said that,
yes.
yes, okay.
Is that fair enough, Clint?
Yeah,
Keeps us out of trouble?
right, well, he'll make a more formal statement when he finds the form he needs to.
All right.
42, 24-6-402, sub 4, sub B would be legal advice, so. Do we handle that as a motion, or can I direct that into executive session?
There needs to be a motion
Okay.
to go into executive session pursuant to that statutory provision for legal advice.
So I would
Jay,
like-
make the move.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting and reconvene in executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6, 402 sub 4 sub B, for the purpose of attorney advice.
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
One correction, though, not adjourn, we're recessing. We're going to
Recess,
executive
Thank you.
thank you, okay.
I'll accept that.
All right, been moved and seconded that we recess into an executive session with our attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice based on Colorado Revised Statute, section 24-6-402, sub 4, sub B. Any further discussion about that, gentlemen?
And you have to say who's in the.
I was gonna ask,
who's-
your request, Kelly would need to be in there for recording purposes. Legal advice
Legal
has to be
advice.
recorded, or no?
No.
No, we don't
Record
record
this.
legal advice.
Right.
But you have to state who's in it.
Right.
Who's in the.
Who's all of
I'm not gonna speak for you.
Okay, present at this executive session would be Brenda Gady, administrative assistant, Clint Smith, the county attorney, Mr. Bill Kanda, commissioner, Tom Flower, commissioner, Jay Prince, commissioner, and Kelly, are you staying or going?
I think the more we have, the
Staying?
better it is.
And Kelly Camper, clerk recorder.
Okay.
And then she'll
should
be
be.
back.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in recess executive session.
Let me stop.
We'll get that set up and have Kelly get back on.
I'm on.
Thank you. For the record, the time is now 11:56. 54, I'm sorry, 11:54. And the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Commissioner Kanda, Commissioner Flower, Commissioner Prince, Councilor Smith, Secretary to the Board, Kelly Camper, and the Administrative Assistant, Ms. Brenda Gady. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that there was any substantial discussion for matters not included in the motion to go into executive session that occurred, please voice your opinion. Hearing none, the Board of County Commissioners meeting has been resumed.
And for the record, I generally make a statement.
Yes, thank
And
you.
as the county attorney, I was present during the executive sessions. We did stay on topic the entire time, addressed two issues where there was a request for legal advice. So none of the executive session was recorded. My legal opinion, everything was done in accordance with the law.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, other topics to come before the board? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to state on the record, based on the advice of counsel and the issues that were discussed, that I appreciate the counsel, Attorney Smith, giving us this information, and I choose not to move forward on anything that was discussed.
All right, thank you. I would bring before the group the possibility of maybe us appointing a commissioner to serve on the county Building Needs Steering Committee. Our next meeting is February the 27th. I personally would feel more comfortable if we had one commissioner sit on that committee instead of 3.
Respectfully, I feel differently. Since it's a steering committee, ultimately no decision will ever be made in that committee. And I think that's when you violate the sunshine laws, when it's not open to the public and decisions are made. I think if we post it as a workshop and invite the public, that we will be complying with the sunshine law. In addition, I don't believe any decisions will ever be made as part of this workshop or committee. Ultimately, it'll come to us in an open session as to what we choose to do based on a recommendation of this committee. I think we're talking about potentially very significant changes within the county in terms of facilities. I personally would prefer to see 3 of us, if the 3 choose to, or at least to be open to the 3 of us, since I don't feel we'll be breaking any sunshine laws and it'll be done as a workshop. So respectfully, I feel opposite than you do, and that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
And maybe we should just vote and decide.
Well, let me ask a question before we do that then. What value do you see? I wanna understand the other side of the coin. What do the 3 of us together bring that one or the other of us wouldn't be able to bring forward and still get that interaction later or at different stages?
You know, I'd love to tell you my father's statement, but it has a dirty word in it, so I won't.
We'll bleep it out. Let's hear it.
My father used to always say to me, 2 heads are better than one, even if they're, and he used an expletive. If they, more, the people who more
input you get.
The more input you get, the better the decision will be. I've been involved in this from the beginning, and that doesn't mean a thing, okay? But I think your perspective on what's needed may be different than Tom's, may be different than mine, and the same with all 3 of us. I think the 3 of us who ultimately will have to make the final decision, assuming it happens within our term, need to be, not just hear from someone else. We heard what happened today earlier, and I'm not trying to rehash what we started this day with, miscommunications. I personally would like to be involved with it so I can hear it, see it, touch it, smell it, get my guts really involved in it. And I'm not sure I could be that way if one person reporting it to me. As we saw this morning, we know what that could lead to.
Okay, that's a good point. Let me give you perspective.
Sure.
That's why we have a committee with multiple people in order to get multiple experiences in there. And I have found in my experience that the more people you have, the better. The problem is when the commander, the three of us, are then there, we tend to get groupthink going, or can lose sight and not let somebody bring in some things that we ought to try to stay above, and then make decisions once we hear the options that are presented, if they're doing their job. And that, I would look at that commissioner as the guy that would want to make sure that that variety of experience is brought in there, and that those options, they're options, not a solution. See, that's the problem. A lot of people think they have to solve it. Sometimes you need to present what courses of action there are, and let the people that have your heart and soul in it, and your ideas, your perspective and my perspective and Tom's in this case, to come and make a good decision with. Sometimes you get led down the path, and you all come together as a solution, and we go forward. Here's the answer, and come back to the board with the answer, and that would be changing the community here. So I can see it both ways. I'm where Tom was originally on us discussing this. It's a little dicey with the three of us in there. Maybe two we can rotate. You know, there's no reason why we can't keep in touch. Is another option. And I don't blame you for not wanting to. I mean, you've been here through it. You sat through some other discussions that have got us where we are today, and you got the scar tissue. So, just a thought.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, of a lot of the committees and stuff that I've sat in on, certainly I'm as excited about this steering committee as most of them, because I really believe that there's an opportunity here for us to move forward and have some serious community input.
Be world class in our answers.
I am not opposed. I'm not arguing your standpoint. I happen to agree with it. I just want us to be kind of all on the same page, or at least, and that's why I sought legal advice for clarification to make sure. I would continue to like to meet. And so therefore, I move that we direct our administrative assistant to post all subsequent steering committees as workshops, and then I will feel much better about that.
I will too, and as a matter of fact, I think we made a very good move.
Okay, go ahead.
Now the discussion.
Moved and seconded that we direct our administrative assistant to post all of the steering committee meetings pertaining to the county needs assessment group as a public workshop.
And I think I agree with that. One thing we did that was good last time is we made Shannon in charge.
So that was a great move.
And that keeps it in the right perspective. It's not us. It would have been that wrong for any one of us to jump up and say, I'll take this meeting.
I agree with you.
Well, and we, meaning the committee,
Commissioners.
selected Shannon.
That's my point.
We did not do that.
Well,
The
that's part of
committee
the
selected
committee
him.
did. Not, I don't mean we.
Okay,
I meant
that's what I meant
we,
to
the committee,
clarify.
did.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good point. That would have been wrong if they had said, Jay, take it, or Tom. It would have been wrong.
I agree.
So, I just have to be careful what we say in those meetings and how we say it. Because it'll come to bite us.
All right, question's been called. All in favor of previous question, which means we will end debate and take an immediate vote, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Question passes. All in favor of the motion, which states to direct our administrative assistant to post all subsequent steering committee meetings pertaining to the county needs assessment as public workshops, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any further business to come before the board?
I'd just like to say I appreciate the two of you. I mean, I'm not a huggy kissy type guy. No, I mean, this is the way it ought to work, and I appreciate it. And that's on the record, and I just want you to know that.
Good, thank you. Anything else, Ms. Kelly?
Can you just, cause you've called that committee two different things.
Yeah, you gotta
So
get the
what's
name right
the,
on it.
what's the name
Well,
of that committee?
and that's the problem. We have not selected
You
a
don't have a
formal
name.
name.
Okay, alright.
We had agreed that for now, we would call that the County Needs Assessment Steering Committee.
For judicial.
But, well, no, that was part of the discussion. It wasn't just for judicial, it was including judicial, but also for other
That's
county
right, it's
building
county
needs. Is that
government,
It's a
needs.
Yeah.
county needs
Yeah,
assessment.
so it was really a needs
We
assessment.
just narrow it though, it's the county government needs, it's not, what is it?
Well, I think we said county building needs.
Building, or,
I thought it was just
facility.
needs assessment, but I guess maybe that would be the first thing.
That's pretty right, I mean, we got a lot of needs like roads, I mean, we gotta narrow it down.
But we can't, if we say county government, then this
County-
is judicial as well, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be the county buildings needs.
No.
Not yet.
Technically, if you read Shannon's email, he
Yeah, what did he name it?
he did kind of name it Team Awesome, which is fine. But and
You really-
said this, I hope everybody's okay with this name. Well, I'm not, because I think we need to be a little more descriptive than
Team
that.
Awesome.
So we will have that discussion at our next steering committee, which of course, as you gentlemen know, February 27th, correct?
And just FYI, it is posted, I have it as a court security meeting, because that's what it
It's
was
not,
originally, but
yeah, it's.
It's what it started out
It's
as,
more
but it's
than
kind of
that.
morphed into something else.
The
So maybe-
strategic plan, it's the county strategic needs.
if we need to
assessment.
change that, let me know what you want it to be.
Stay tuned.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it has to be 24 hours, so we can change the name prior to that and probably be just fine.
Think about it.
Anything else,
I love we
ladies and
adjourn.
gentlemen? Second, the moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries.
So we have a meeting at 2 tonight here,
12:07, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Affordable housing is here.
Yeah.
Clint, thank you for your insight.
Yes, thank you, sir. Appreciate you keeping us on track as
Clint,
well.
don't even need your signature on this.
Mr. Friend, I'm gonna leave my.
As long as he can ask you anyway.
Yeah,
This
how
one,
many
the
people
town of
typically to that,
Silver,
I'm gonna come to that meeting, how many
Makes
people
reference to this
typically are there?
resolution.
Well,
Are we okay leaving
Yeah,
this, or should we?
I've got a
leave it
copy
mine.
of that.
Oh, okay.
I don't